Chapter 876. Now that he had successfully condensed his first chief god divine core, Yi Qinghan's speed in condensing the time divine core became much faster. Moreover, the time divine core had just been condensed, so it did not take long for it to evolve even faster. It was completed before the supreme-grade Chaos Divinity Source was completely consumed. With a chief god divine core, he could comprehend the most powerful secret skill of the temporal laws of nature, domain. Within a domain, time could be completely sealed. Unless one's cultivation level far exceeded the domain creator's, one would not be able to sense the flow of time within a domain. Any powerhouse who was trapped in a domain would be in a state of complete stillness, waiting for their best friend to die. However, Yi Qinghan was not satisfied with only 2 chief god divine cores. He began to condense his third chief god divine core, the metal divine core. The metal divine core was the most aggressive. Coupled with Yi Qinghan's ruthlessness, it was definitely a killing machine that could threaten the status of veteran chief gods. Yi Qinghan had extremely strict requirements for this divine core. Every pattern was meticulously carved, and he had to be able to control it as he wished. The internal space could even be compared to a spatial divine core. Every inch of polishing consumed a lot of time. However, the pressure on Long Zai was greatly reduced. Emperor Yi had become a master god, and he was also a master god with 2 godhoods. He was a master god who combined his soul and flesh as one. This kind of existence was born to be a combat genius. Even if he could not defeat a first-rate existence like the Flowing Ghost Taoist, he could still hold his own against someone like Qing Wanli. He could even kill him. After observing Emperor Ye's supreme divinity, Zixian began to observe Yi Qinghan. At that moment, Yi Qinghan's body was emitting golden light, and a golden pagoda vaguely appeared. It was the emperor-level pagoda he had obtained on a dead planet when he was still weak. Now that he had nourished it with his flesh and blood, its Buddhist light soared into the sky. It had long evolved into a divine weapon and had become his natal divine weapon. Its grade was not bad, and it could withstand a peak half-step chief god's attack. The Buddhist pagoda's Buddha light was intermittently strong and intermittently weak. After absorbing the sovereign power within Yi Qinghan's body, it began to evolve. Given Yi Qinghan's blood energy, it was very likely that this Buddhist pagoda would evolve into a sovereign artifact. To Yi Qinghan, a master god artifact was absolutely important. If he wanted to upgrade the pagoda, it would not be enough to just nourish it with his blood and flesh. Even if it was possible, it would take countless years. If he wanted to quickly upgrade the pagoda to a master god artifact, he would need to evolve the divine fire persona to the level of a master god. He would also need a large amount of master god artifact materials. The pagoda was almost imprinted on Yi Qinghan's fleshly body, protecting his heart. As time passed, the pagoda seemed to have a mind of its own and ran to his sea of consciousness to protect his godhood. When Yi Qinghan broke through, the divine beasts in his body also broke through, especially the Paixio. After devouring the dragon's blood, it emitted a powerful divine aura. The little golden crow benefited the least. Unless Yi Qinghan broke through and became the sovereign of fire, it would be very difficult for it to upgrade the origin of fire to the 18th grade, the level of a sovereign. The star-twisting vine devoured a large amount of blood energy, and its vines were fresh and tender. The divine bird stretched its short legs lazily, not wanting to cultivate at all. Its lifespan was originally very long, and it was not a battle-type divine beast. Unless there was a knife to its neck, it would not cultivate. At this moment, the god-slaying eagle, who was still beside Yi Qinghan and Qin Wentian, raised its head and screeched. Its golden light covered the sky, as if it was about to evolve into a supreme bird. Its sharp claws shattered the 9 heavens, and with a light shake, space and time were shaken. Screech! The eagle screeched, and the world was dead silent. The god-slaying eagle broke through. Qin Wentian said excitedly. Yes, there are still 3 days before the 3-month deadline. I wonder if the great demonic celestial body, Mo Li, will make a move on little Uncle D. Yi Qinghan was very anxious. His father seemed to have disappeared. The whole world was looking for him, but he actually disappeared. Now, it was not just the whole world that was looking for Yi Qinghan. The tyrants of the 2 camps were all looking for Yi Qinghan. There was a good reason why the great demonic celestial body, Mo Li, was looking for Yi Qinghan. After all, they had snatched the life-bound divine weapons of the 10 great physiques. It was normal for them to want to take it back. However, the people of the witch race were also looking for Yi Qinghan. The people of the 2 camps were looking for Yi Qinghan, and the rogue cultivators naturally followed. If they found him, they could tell whichever side, and there would be terrifying rewards. It was not that Yi Qinghan did not want to fight, but before Yi Qinghan left, he had warned him that he was not allowed to come into contact with the other physique. He could not let the primal chaos completely reappear. He did not have the strength now, but once the planes merged and the primal chaos reappeared, he would be at the mercy of others. There were only 3 days before the 3-month deadline, and the people of the inner sect began to return. The great demonic celestial body was, after all, the number 1 physique in the world. Moreover, he was also a sovereign. With the other physiques, it would not be difficult for him to kill Di Longtian. At this moment, Di Longtian hugged his sword and walked on the boundless prairie. He did not have any goal in mind. He only wanted to find an opportunity to break through to the sovereign level. However, it was not easy to condense a sovereign divine spark. It required a huge amount of faith energy and a terrifying amount of resources. Yi Qinghan had taken most of the faith power from the endless planes, so he couldn't take much. Only the ancient killing god was still a believer of the ancient killing god. Di Longtian was thinking about how to seize the faith energy. Since he could not take it from the mythological plane or the endless planes, he could only take it from other planes. On the day Mo Li declared war, Di Longtian used 3 months to travel to the edge of the universe and enter a huge middle plane. This middle plane had already merged with hundreds of smaller planes and more than 10 middle planes. There were not many experts here, and it was extremely desolate. There were not even sovereigns, but the population was quite high. Di Longtian walked on this middle plane deep in thought. He was preparing to open his path to becoming a sovereign. Di Longtian investigated and found that the strongest experts in this middle plane were only half-step sovereigns. However, there were many of them, and they were all ferocious existences. They had wild personalities and were not easy to tame. However, as long as he could defeat them, there would be no problem. Roar! Di Longtian unsheathed his sword, and the heavenly path killing god's sword aura soared into the sky. He was already half a step into the sovereign level. He was outside the world, but there were many experts in the world who obeyed his orders. Therefore, Di Longtian's first choice was him. King Qishan was the strongest expert in this middle plane. He had almost reached the point where he could cover the sky with one hand. He had never been defeated, and had reached the point where he was willing to lose. He lived here, waiting for people to come and challenge him. Boom! A sky-splitting battle intent swept through space and time, suppressing the entire middle plane. The goshawks on the middle plane cried out. They did not even have the courage to fly and fell to the ground. King Qishan, I am Di Longtian. Come out and fight. Di Longtian looked coldly at the heaven-punishing mountain in front of him. The mountain range stretched endlessly. It was Mount Qishan. At the top of Mount Qishan, a pair of vigorous eyes pierced through the void and looked directly at the origin. When they saw Di Longtian, they could not help but be surprised. The challenger this time was actually such a young man. Moreover, his sword aura was so pure and his battle intent was so high. Chapter 877. The grassland of Mount Chilian was deathly silent. A towering sword aura connected with the heavens, suppressing the world. King Qishan was not interested in these youngsters. What he needed was a true expert to stimulate his potential and break through to the overgod realm. This realm was big enough to hold an overgod, but no overgod had been born. He believed that the overgod position would be his. Di Longtian slowly rose into the air. His battle robes were sharp, and his aura was overwhelming. Everything within 1,000 miles was under his control. "Junior, you are not from my Saint Heaven realm," King Qishan said in a deep voice. "There is no such thing as a realm. If I defeat you, the Saint Heaven realm will be mine. If I lose, I am naturally not from the Saint Heaven realm." Di Longtian stepped forward, crushing King Qishan's control. The power of heaven and earth collapsed. "Young man, you have comprehended the wrong path. If you want to reach the peak of the great path, what's the use of a realm? You will lose your will to play around," King Qishan said calmly. "I don't need a realm, but I need the power of faith," Di Longtian replied. "All right then. Swords have no eyes. Today, either you die or I die." King Qishan reached out and grabbed, and a sharp sword flew out from the mountain. He looked at Di Longtian seriously, treating him as an equal opponent. Two divine swords tore through the void and flew through the grassland of Mount Chilian. One sword came from the east, and all the grass in the grassland moved quickly, turning into sharp swords that attacked the opponent. Every move could take a life. The merchants on the grassland began to run wildly. The aura of the two was too strong, and it attracted a large number of experts to come and watch. Great Nirvana Sword Technique. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the three sword flashes charged towards King Qishan with an irresistible will. King Qishan was indeed the strongest person in the Holy Dragon Plain. He had only sought defeat in his entire life. He actually managed to gain the upper hand and forcefully defeated the Great Nirvana Sword Technique. Di Longtian no longer hid his cultivation. The golden dragon on his body roared, and he stepped on the dragon to fight. His speed more than doubled. Whoosh! The heavenly path killing god sword technique erupted, and it began to suppress his opponent. Dragon slaying. Whoosh! Although King Qishan loved talents, he did not hold back. He slashed down from the sky, wanting to break Di Longtian's sword aura. "Fight!" Di Longtian roared. His battle intent and arrogance swept out in all directions, shocking the spectators. How could such a young man have such a terrifying cultivation base? Boom! The sword in King Qishan's hand instantly shattered, and Di Longtian kicked him in the chest. He coughed up blood and was sent flying. The golden dragon swung its tail, shattering space-time and striking King Qishan once more. Puff! King Qishan's divine body was torn apart and his soul was almost shattered. Di Longtian wielded the heavenly Tao god-killing sword. He pierced through the void and appeared in front of King Qishan's broken body. He pointed the sword at King Qishan's throat but did not kill him. King Qishan had lost in terms of weapon. How could his divine weapon be compared to the heavenly Tao sword? The heavenly Tao killing god sword was a divine weapon forged by Di Shang using his own flesh and blood, and it was compatible with the heavenly Tao. As the heavenly Tao grew stronger, the heavenly Tao sword would automatically evolve. As Di Longtian grew stronger, the heavenly Tao sword would evolve as well. Right now, the heavenly Tao sword was almost on par with a sovereign artifact. However, King Qishan's cultivation was not weak. If not for the fact that Di Longtian's divine weapon was too powerful, who knew how long this battle would have lasted? Hiss! Everyone sucked in a cold breath. King Qishan had never been defeated in his entire life. Now, he was in the midst of overturning the era. He was not yet past his prime, but he had lost to a young man, and so quickly. King Qishan's face was pale, but there was a trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth. He accepted his defeat wholeheartedly. He also understood that the reason for his loss was not the sword, but Di Longtian's cultivation was truly too strong. Di Longtian's understanding of the sword Dao and the Grand Dao far surpassed his own. That sword just now contained supreme battle intent and arrogance, as well as the profound mysteries of the sword Dao. I've lost. King Qishan fell heavily at the foot of the mountain. Leaning against a rock, he looked at Di Longtian's handsome face and asked hoarsely, "May I ask who you are? You have such a cultivation at such a young age. Could it be that you're from the two great camps?" "No, I'm a disciple of the insane sect." Di Longtian put away his sword and waved his hand. The golden dragon returned, turning into a dragon imprint that was engraved on his arm. He turned and left. The insane sect? King Qishan frowned. He had never heard of this name. Logically speaking, a nameless sect should not be able to nurture such a terrifying genius. However, seeing that the arrogant Di Longtian did not even have the intention to kill him, he no longer doubted it. King Qishan looked at Di Longtian's departing figure and struggled to stand up. He said in a deep voice, "Brother Di, if you need the power of faith, I'm willing to lend you a hand." "All right. When I become a lord, I'll definitely repay you generously," Di Longtian said indifferently. The Holy Dragon Plain. News of King Qishan's defeat spread like wildfire. The person who defeated him was not an old man past his prime, but a young man. The younger generation of the Holy Dragon Plain could not help but be shocked and excited. They quickly took Di Longtian as their idol. Soon, King Qishan announced that he would follow Di Longtian, attracting a large number of high gods to follow him. Di Longtian personally killed some of the hostile half-step lords and swept through them. His goal was self-evident. He wanted to unify the Holy Dragon Plain. Dragonline Plain, Southern Wastelands. Yi Qinghan had used up all of his godly herbs and primal chaos mana to finally complete the Metal Divine Sparks transformation and become a lord with 3 divine sparks. At that moment, Yi Qinghan stood up gracefully. He looked like he was right in front of them, but in reality, he was ethereal and untouchable. It was as if he was right in front of them, yet far away. However, Yi Qinghan quickly retracted his aura and returned to half-step lord level. He said to the crowd, "Don't inform Brother Qing that I've broken through. As for imprisoning him, just blame it on me. I've offended many people anyway, so one more won't make a difference." Long Zai was put in a difficult position. He smiled bitterly and said, "Martial Uncle should be able to believe him. He's already undone Uncle's seal. I've also asked Uncle, and he indeed did not participate in the incident back then. It was Ghost Taoist Flowing Void and the Killing God sect who did it." Yi Qinghan shrugged and said calmly, "I don't believe him, even though he's indeed trustworthy. Just do as I say." After saying that, Yi Qinghan pointed into the air. A beam of light shot into Qing Qinghan's consciousness and undid all of his seals. He then undid Qin Yanfei's seal as well. Qing Qinghan was enraged. A cold glint flashed in his eyes as he stared at Yi Qinghan. "Yi Qinghan, you'd better give me a reasonable explanation. Do you really think I don't have a temper after playing tricks on me time and time again?" Qing Qinghan reprimanded coldly. "I want to ask Long Quan alone about what happened back then. You're all people from back then, so I have no reason to trust you completely. However, now that I've asked, it's indeed my fault. If you're angry, I'm willing to accept any punishment as a way to vent your anger," Yi Qinghan said calmly. Qing Qinghan was so angry that his entire body trembled. He wanted nothing more than to crush Yi Qinghan right now. However, he was currently in the southern wasteland and had no teammates by his side. With his strength alone, it was impossible for him to shake Yi Qinghan, Emperor Yi, and the others. Chapter 878. Although Qing 4Cs was furious, he had no choice but to suppress it because he really couldn't win against Long Zai. Moreover, Long Zai was a master god. If they were to fall out now, even running away would be a problem. Now that junior brother Long Quan has awakened, have you asked him clearly? Do you trust me now? Qing 4Cs asked angrily. Yi Qinghan's attitude changed and he immediately smiled. Dao friend Qing, don't be angry. We're just making sure nothing goes wrong. Yi Qinghan, I'm warning you. If you dare to sneak attack me again, we'll break up. If not for Master, I wouldn't have suffered such humiliation. Don't think that without you, we won't be able to avenge Master. Qing 4Cs said coldly. Martial uncle, Qinghan doesn't have any ill intentions. Please don't bicker with him. He's just not familiar with you and has nothing to do with you. That's why he doesn't trust you. Long Zai quickly became the peacemaker and mediated. Zai, martial uncle is warning you. There's no need to get close to this kind of person. Since he doesn't trust me, he'll definitely be on guard against you. I don't even know why he's getting close to you. Qing 4Cs said solemnly. What Qing 4Cs didn't know was that Yi Qinghan and her had already been together for a long time. They knew each other's memories and didn't have any psychological barriers. They wouldn't suspect each other either. Now, he was still trying to break up their alliance. Long Zai smiled bitterly and shook her head. Yi Qinghan was on guard against Qing 4Cs. Although there was no reason, she inexplicably believed that Yi Qinghan might be right. That was why she didn't say anything else. Seeing that it wouldn't work, Qing 4Cs immediately changed the topic. Sai, since junior brother Long Quan has awakened, you should still recognize me, right? You used to play with me when you were young. Long Quan nodded. He trusted Qing 4Cs a lot. Tell senior brother, what happened in Flower Sea City back then? Who destroyed Flower Sea City? Who was the one who assassinated Master? Qing 4Cs asked solemnly. Long Quan was young and inexperienced. He lowered his head and wept. When he saw his family, he simply could not hold it in. Before Father sealed me away, he told me that Ghost Taoist Flowing Void wanted to reorganize the Six Gods Tao sect and gather all the profound mysteries of the Six Great Laws into one person's hands to create the legendary paramount godhood. Father didn't agree, so he wanted to kill Father. Father predicted the danger and placed me in the underground sacred realm in advance and sealed me away. As for who participated in the massacre, I don't know. Long Quan said with a sobbing voice. Father also said that in order to gather the six profound mysteries of the laws, Taoist Flowing Void was rejected by the other five successors. He even assassinated the Sovereign of Darkness and seized the law steel of the profound mysteries of darkness. He said that he would first seal me away. In the future, someone would definitely discover the underground sacred realm and expose Taoist Flowing Void's true face. Long Zai clenched her fist. She didn't expect Ghost Taoist Flowing Sky to have already executed his plan. After so many years, she didn't know how many profound mysteries of the laws he had gathered and what level his cultivation had reached. If he had comprehended all three profound mysteries of the laws, then Ghost Taoist Flowing Sky's cultivation would probably surpass Sword God Dugu's. I didn't expect Martial Uncle to be such an ambitious person. Look at that righteous appearance of his. At first, I didn't believe him, but now I can see his true face. Qing 4Cs pretended to be angry and said hatefully. Regarding Ghost Taoist Flowing Void killing the Sovereign of Darkness, did your father leave any evidence? Yi Qinghan asked. Long Quan looked at Yi Qinghan in confusion. He didn't recognize Yi Qinghan and didn't dare to believe it. He could only turn his head to look at Long Zai. After all, Long Zai didn't remember him, but he remembered Long Zai. She was a direct descendant of the Long clan, the daughter of his own brother. Long Zai nodded. Uncle, he can be trusted. You have to tell him everything you know. Only then will we have a chance to take revenge. Father said that if we want to take revenge, as long as we open the secret door to the underground sacred realm, the truth will be revealed. Long Quan said. Secret door? Yi Qinghan frowned. He recalled that day when he entered the underground sacred realm. He didn't find any secret door. Let's return to the Dragon Gate Inn and inform all the sovereigns of the Six Gods Dao sect, as well as all the sovereigns who were friends with Ghost Taoist Flowing Light back then. In short, call all the sovereigns who might be able to help to the Dragon Gate Inn. This time, we'll expose Ghost Taoist Flowing Light's true face. I'm going to flip the Six Gods Dao sect upside down. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly. He didn't want to delay at all. Long Zai looked at Qing 4Cs. She didn't know which sovereigns were friends with Ghost Taoist Flowing Light, nor did she know who to trust. Qing 4Cs knew quite a lot back then, so she naturally had to ask him for help. I don't have a communication talisman, so I can't inform them quickly. I can only go to the Righteous Heavenly Palace personally. The Righteous Heavenly Palace's master is good friends with Master. They know each other back then, so it'll be better to ask him for help. Qing 4Cs said without hesitation. Alright, then we'll meet at the Dragon Gate Inn. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Xiao Fei, come with me. You'll only be a burden if you follow them. It'll be safer for you to stay in the Righteous Heavenly Palace. Qing 4Cs said as if nothing had happened. Yi Qinghan didn't stop him. If Qing 4Cs really had a problem, it was useless to keep him. He even dared to kill the master who raised him. Who else would he care about? Soon, the group split into two. Yi Qinghan and the others went straight to the Dragon Gate Inn. They wanted to find the secret door and take out evidence to send Ghost Taoist Flowing Light to the 18th level of Hell. Meanwhile, Qing 4Cs rushed towards the northeast. The Righteous Heavenly Palace was indeed in the northeast. It was a force comparable to the Six Gods Dao sect. It was incomparably powerful and had 4 sovereigns. It wasn't as many as the Six Gods Dao sect, but it wasn't lacking in quality. Yi Qinghan asked Long Quan and found out that the relationship between the Righteous Heavenly Palace and Flowing Light Sovereign God was indeed very good. However, he was still not at ease, so he asked Dong Qin to contact Sword God Dugu. Dong Qin burned a drop of essence blood. The essence blood formed a blood-colored mirror, and Sword God Dugu's aged face appeared on it. What's the matter? Sword God Dugu asked indifferently. Naturally, I'm asking for your help. If you can contact 3 helpers of the same level, I'll use all 3 conditions to save you some trouble. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Oh? You're in big trouble? Sword God Dugu was astonished. He alone wasn't enough, and he actually needed 3 helpers like him. It seemed like the enemy wasn't weak. The target is the Six Gods Dao sect leader, Empty Ghost Taoist. I want to crush him to death. Yi Qinghan said coldly. Just you? Even I don't have the confidence. Moreover, he has many friends. Without 10 sovereigns, you definitely can't hurt him. I can't do it alone. Sword God Dugu rejected without hesitation. The conditions were conditions, but it wasn't the same as sending himself to death. What if I become a sovereign? What if the Chaos Dragon's inheritor also becomes a sovereign? Will there be a chance to kill him? Yi Qinghan stared at the mirror and asked in a deep voice. Sword God Dugu was rather surprised. However, if the Chaos Dragon's inheritor became a sovereign, their chances would be much higher. He had also seen Yi Qinghan fight before. He was absolutely invincible among those of the same level. If he really became a sovereign, he would be able to defeat most sovereigns. Will the other inheritors of the Six Gods Dao sect take action? Those 6 sovereigns all have the primal chaos divine spark. They're not easy to deal with. Sword God Dugu was still worried. They probably won't take action. They might even help us because we've found evidence of Empty Ghost Taoist assassinating his junior. Yi Qinghan hesitated for a moment. He wasn't sure if the other sovereigns were under his control. Alright, I'll go crazy with you this time. After this, we won't owe each other anything. Sword God Dugu thought for a moment and finally nodded in agreement. Chapter 879. As soon as Qing Si Hai left the group, he knocked Qing Yen Fei unconscious and entered a large city to buy a communication talisman. He then informed Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong of Yi Qinghan's plan. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong smirked coldly. This group of children was still too inexperienced. No matter how much he tried to defend himself, he could not defend himself against the people around him. Since you want to play, I'll play with you this time. Let's see where you can run to this time. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong was arrogant. He could even kill a super first-rate lord like Flowing Light without a sound, let alone a group of kids who were not even lord. As for Long Zai, he did not think much of him at all. Otherwise, he would have killed him long ago. However, what Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong did not expect was that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had already elevated to lords. Even though Yi Qinghan only had 3 lord godheads, he was still a bona fide lord with extraordinary combat strength. They were all calling for friends. Just in case, Ghost Taoist Priest Flowing Sky was cautious and vigilant. He requested Lord Lingtian to invite another same-level Lord-level assassin from another Killer God Dao branch, as well as over 30 half-step Lord-level assassins. He had also contacted a lord with whom he was closest, as well as 2 god slaves. Not only that, all of them had a Lord-level cultivation base. That way, they would have 4 powerful super first-rate lords and 2 god slave lords. Although their cultivation bases were slightly weaker, killing half-step lords was a piece of cake for them. Logically speaking, with so many powerhouses, it would be more than enough to kill Yi Qinghan and the others. They would not be able to escape even if they had wings. However, Yi Qinghan was even more ruthless. He went to the Dragon Line Realm's intelligence system branch responsible for selling information and paid several million high-grade god crystals for the intelligence system to contact all the lords in the realm. Something big had happened at Huahai City's original location. He even used the intelligence system's network to find the other lords of the 6 gods, Dao Sec's inheritance, and told them the truth. As for whether they believed him or not, that was their problem. If the other party was also involved in this matter, it would be a great opportunity to deal with them all at once. If he wanted to make a scene, he had to make it big. He had to tear apart Ghost Taoist Flowing Void's demonic face in front of all the sovereigns and make him suffer so much that he would rather die. Yi Qinghan never left any leeway for others. This time, not only did he want to destroy the 6 gods Dao sect, but he also wanted to destroy the Qianxi City branch of the Killing Gods Dao. As for the reaction of the Killing Gods Dao headquarters, it didn't matter. In any case, the Killing Gods Dao wouldn't let him go. He would destroy as many of them as he could. Experts from all sides were rushing towards Huahai City. Yi Qinghan and the others had already arrived at the underground sacred realm in search of the secret door. The blood-red color was incomparably sinister. Even without the monsoon, it was still terrifying. Under the illumination of the moonlight at night, this place was red, just like hell. Long Quan seemed to know the location of the secret door. His target was the center of the iron wall that was close to the north. He gritted his teeth and pressed against the wall. The iron wall that had completely overlapped actually split into 2, and a huge space appeared. Whoosh! The space erupted with dazzling radiance. Divine radiance flowed about. 2 sovereign artifacts were placed on the weapon rack. One was the Spear of Time, the life-bound artifact of the first sovereign god of time. Combined with the profound mysteries of the laws of time, it could increase the power of the laws of time tenfold. Although it was quietly placed on the rack, it still released the profound mysteries of time, causing the surrounding space-time to become chaotic. The second sovereign artifact was a gourd-like pot. It released a purple radiance. As for how to use it, it was unknown. Only by dripping blood on it would one understand. This was the private property of the Long family, so Yi Qinghan and the others didn't fight over it. This is called the Qiankuan pot. It can swallow the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers and use divine power. This Qiankuan pot can refine all things. It's a product of the primal chaos, the most powerful primal chaos artifact, second only to the overgod artifact. It's long been lost. I didn't expect it to be hidden here, Dong Qin said. So the Spear of Time was here. No wonder it disappeared after grandfather was attacked. Long Zai was rather shocked. This was the most precious treasure of the 6 gods Dao sect. The divine sect only had 6 legacy artifacts, and they were all artifacts from the primal chaos era. The sovereign artifacts of the present era were far, far more powerful. Lend me the Spear of Time for a period of time. Once I've refined it into a sovereign artifact, I'll return it to you. Yi Qinghan said resolutely, his will allowing no argument. Long Zai agreed without hesitation, but Long Quan was a bit unwilling. This was something his father had left for him. How could he casually give it to an outsider? This is the Spear of Time. It can only be used in conjunction with the profound mysteries of the laws of time. Long Quan raised his head, as though saying that even if he gave it to him, he couldn't use it. How could Yi Qinghan argue with a child? He reached out and grabbed at the air. The profound mysteries of the laws of time were fully displayed. The Spear of Time didn't resist at all, directly appearing in Yi Qinghan's hand. You secretly learned the laws of time's boundary steel. Long Quan looked at Yi Qinghan with dissatisfaction. Although he was young, his noble aura was still dignified without being angry. Long Zai didn't expect that Yi Qinghan had learned the laws of time. How long had it been since he obtained the boundary steel? He hadn't seen him cultivate it at all. All laws under the heavens are interconnected. Don't keep it to yourself. Just because you think that the profound mysteries of the laws of time is something that belongs to your Long clan, your father's laws of time were taught to him by someone else. It's not good to have such thoughts at such a young age. Yi Qinghan replied coldly. Long Quan wanted to argue, but Long Zai pointed it out. Qinghan, little uncle has been asleep for too long. He's not used to it. Don't bicker with him. You can borrow the Spear of Time for a period of time, but can you return the boundary steel to me? After all, this is something that my grandfather passed down. I hope that little uncle can comprehend it. Long Zai said softly. Yi Qinghan casually removed a yin and yang ring from his finger and tossed it to Long Zai. This was something that belonged to her Long clan. She wouldn't take it for herself. Thank you. Long Zai hurriedly caught the boundary steel and bowed deeply. In the past, she might have hated Yi Qinghan, but now she was truly grateful. If Yi Qinghan didn't want to return the boundary steel, no one would be able to take it back. If he wanted the Spear of Time, he could just take it by force. There was no need to talk about borrowing it. Yi Qinghan shook his head. Holding the Spear of Time, he tried to comprehend its uses. Emperor Yi, on the other hand, walked towards the depths of the secret door. There was a metal table in the depths of the secret door. On top of it was an image stone. After activating his divine power to open it, he discovered that it was actually a recording of a conversation between Sovereign God Flowing Light and Ghost Daoist Flowing Void. The flowing light in the image was extremely handsome. He was only around 30 years old, and his cultivation was powerful. He definitely surpassed most sovereigns. Just from the aura he emitted, one could tell that the current Yi Qinghan was definitely not a match for Sovereign God Flowing Light in the past. Long Zai covered her mouth as she looked at Sovereign God Flowing Light. Her eyes were filled with tears. She could vaguely see the image of her father in this man's bones. He looked about the same as Sovereign God Flowing Light. He looked very dignified, but also very benevolent. Senior apprentice brother Flowing Void, in the past, Master strictly prohibited the 6 profound mysteries of the laws from fusing together. The boundary steel does not allow a single person to comprehend it. Are you going to go against the teachings of your ancestors? Sovereign God Flowing Light stared at the middle-aged man. His aura erupted, causing spacetime within a radius of dozens of kilometers to freeze. Chapter 880. Junior brother, don't you want the Six Gods Tao sect to grow stronger and have an overgod? Don't you want it to become a holy land? Ghost Taoist Flowing Light looked cunning and a little crazy. He was trying his best to persuade Overgod Flowing Light. Senior brother, are you crazy about becoming an overgod? Our ancestors warned us time and time again that the Six Gods Tao sect can't be gathered in the hands of a single person. Otherwise, the Six Gods Tao sect will fall apart. You don't want the Six Gods Tao sect to become a forbidden land, you want to break it apart. Are you worthy of Master's teachings? He handed the sect to you. If the sect falls apart, how will you face Master in the future? Overgod Flowing Light questioned. If I were to become an overgod, let alone a single Six Gods Tao sect, even if I were to build 10 of them, I would still be able to do it. Today, your senior brother wants to ask you, are you willing to work with me and hand over the boundary steel of the laws of time? Tao Being Flowing Ghost asked coldly. Impossible. Give up. I don't think the other senior brothers and sisters will agree to it. Flowing Light refused without hesitation. Then you're forcing me to kill you. Think about how junior brother Darkness died. I don't want to kill you, so I'll give you 3 days to consider whether to compromise or work with me. Think about it carefully. If I want to kill you, it's as easy as pie. The 3 Taoists outside are all existences on par with me. They can easily wipe out your city without a sound. You'd best keep a low profile. Otherwise, the fate of Junior Brother Darkness clan will be a true portrayal of your city. Ghost Taoist Flowing Void threatened with disdain. This was the last time Flowing Light saw the 4 overgods. As for who the other 3 were, he didn't know. They didn't appear in this image stone. Only Flowing Light himself knew how he had recorded these records without Ghost Taoist Flowing Light noticing. Looking at this image stone, it was clear what had happened back then. The slaughter of Flower Sea City was for the time boundary steel. Long Zai and Long Quan were trembling with hatred. Yi Qinghan wasn't too sad. Ghost Taoist Flowing Light was indeed a madman. However, he didn't understand why the 6 legacies couldn't be combined. If they could merge into one, the Six Gods Tao sect might really be able to give birth to a supreme god. If it were him, he might also choose to combine the 6 great inheritances, but he would not use such an extreme method. The ancestral teachings of the Six Gods Tao sect are truly strange and baffling. Yi Qinghan faintly shrugged. He didn't think that Flowing Sky Ghost Taoist's thoughts were wrong, but his actions were definitely wrong. The worst thing was that he shouldn't have provoked Yi Qinghan. Let's leave this place first. I'm guessing that Ghost Taoist Lu Kong and Ling Tian will bring a large number of experts here to kill us. According to my calculations, they'll arrive this afternoon, and the experts from the Dragon Line realm will arrive tonight. That's just the right amount of time to ruin his reputation. Yi Qinghan laughed evilly. He put away his spear and flew out of the Saint realm. Long Zai put away the Qiankuan gourd and directly dripped her blood to bind it. With this Qiankuan gourd, she could definitely compete with the older generation of overgods. No one understood how Yi Qinghan had calculated the time difference. Yi Qinghan didn't inform Ghost Taoist Flowing Sky. Could it be that he could predict the future? Long Quan was a child and spoke without thinking. She asked whenever she didn't understand. Long Quan raised her head and asked, "How did you know they would arrive here at that time?" Long Zai also looked at Yi Qinghan curiously. Because overturning the 4 seas. This matter must be related to him. My intuition tells me that there's something wrong with him. I think he hasn't gone to Righteous Sky Palace yet, but he'll inform Ghost Taoist Flowing Sky instead. However, He'll delay informing righteous Sky Palace by a day to wash this matter clean, Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Just based on your intuition? Long Zai asked in surprise. Of course not. Based on his behavior, I lied to him and played tricks on him, but he always tolerated it. I wasn't even an overgod back then. A high and mighty overgod, the inheritor of the temporal laws, wouldn't allow a junior to bully him no matter how righteous he was. However, he tolerated it. There was one time when you tried to sow discord between us, but he immediately gave up after you said a few words. This means that he didn't dare to fall out with me, nor did he dare to express his thoughts. If that's not a lie, then what is it? Yi Qinghan replied. Nonsense. Senior brother has been with me since we were young. He's a good person, and his relationship with father is like that of a father's. He would never harm father, Long Quan said angrily. Yi Qinghan couldn't be bothered to argue with a child. He held his spear and charged towards a mountain range in the east. Emperor Yi Zixian and the others didn't refute. They trusted Yi Qinghan very much. If he felt that there was a problem with overturning 4 seas, then there was definitely a problem. Even if there wasn't a problem, it was normal to be careful. The group entered the mountain range, not far away, and looked at the original location of the Dragon Gate Inn. Now that the Sea of Flowers had been destroyed, there wasn't even a shadow left. It was incomparably bleak. Yi Qinghan was waiting for Sword God Dugu to arrive. During this free time, he closed his eyes and comprehended. He fused with the temporal spear with a drop of blood, and the profound mysteries of time became clearer. He borrowed the temporal law boundary steel from Long Zai again and began to comprehend the temporal law's most powerful profound attack, the temporal domain. The temporal domain and spatial domain were different methods of achieving the same result. Within the domain, one would have absolute control, and one would be a true god. Within the same realm, comprehending a domain, even if one had a momentary advantage, could still play a crucial role. The size of a domain was naturally related to one's soul and willpower. The stronger one's willpower and soul, the larger the domain and the stronger the domain. When 2 domains overlapped, it depended on the strength of the domain user. Yi Qinghan clearly didn't have the confidence to deal with flowing ghost Taoists. Every bit of improvement was good. The temporal spear emitted a scorching light, shining like the sun. Emperor Yi and the others were in seclusion, bitterly cultivating. The final battle was today. Yi Qinghan and the others were gambling. They were gambling that Sword God Dugu would arrive faster than Flowing Ghost Taoist. If Flowing Ghost Taoist arrived first, they might very well die here today. Experts came from all directions, and the intelligence system notified the Dragonline Realm's sovereigns. Even if some of the sovereigns weren't interested, most of them would come to see what was going on here. However, news of Yi Qinghan's whereabouts in the Dragonline Realm had spread, and it attracted people from both camps. This time, it wasn't just the 6 gods Dao sect and the god-slaying Dao who were participating in the battle. People from both camps might participate as well. Sword God Dugu invited a Sword Dao sovereign, Xianyuan Yangtian. Their relationship wasn't good, but they were like-minded. Xianyuan Yangtian made a promise in exchange for a chance to fight. This was the cooperation between experts. Sovereign God Lingtian quickly returned to Qianxi City through the Realm Gate and contacted another sovereign of the God-slaying Dao's branch in another large city. They each brought a large number of assassins and charged toward the Dragon Gate Inn. Flowing Ghost Daoist also brought several experts with him, charging toward the Dragon Gate Inn as fast as lightning. If he failed this time, his reputation would be ruined. Even if he knew that Yi Qinghan had notified many sovereigns, he still had to go to the Dragon Gate Inn and kill Yi Qinghan and the others before they did. Chapter 881. It was a race of time and speed. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong was the most anxious, so he was the first to tear through space and charge toward the inn. Ling Tian also left the group after receiving the notice. He was going all out to kill Yi Qinghan. Swish, 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 swish. Two super overgods were leaping through space, ignoring the shackles of space as they moved at lightning speed. Not far from the inn, Yi Qinghan stood up slowly. His spear pierced through space and time, reversing the flow of time. It was as if he wanted to travel through space and time. Time domain. Swish. A beam of light covered the sky and earth, covering a radius of 50 kilometers. Even Emperor Yi was trapped in the domain, unable to sense the flow of time. It was difficult for him to even move his fingers. Seal! Yi Qinghan muttered. As his voice rang out, there was no more movement within a radius of 50 kilometers. The life and death of all things were in Yi Qinghan's hands. Time flow. Yi Qinghan stared at a large tree in front of him. An ancient tree that could live for hundreds of thousands of years instantly withered, aged, and died completely. It was as if it had experienced an era. Even a tree that contained boundless vitality could not withstand Yi Qinghan's time flow. One could imagine how terrifying his domain attack was. Withered wood becomes spring. Yi Qinghan completely controlled life and death within the domain with his will. The withered tree reversed time and quickly regained its vitality. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and retracted the domain. Everyone regained their ability to move. This is the time domain? It can make all things return to life and death in an instant? Long Zai was shocked. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to be able to unleash the domain to minor accomplishment in such a short time. Yes, I've only grasped the surface. The strongest realm of the time domain can reverse time, travel through space and time, and enter the chaotic era. Yi Qinghan nodded, looking forward to that realm. The profound mystery of time was divided into three major stages. The first stage was the small success stage, the second stage was the large success stage, and the third stage was the great perfection stage. Yi Qinghan and Qing Sihai were both only at the small success stage. If they could be further divided, Yi Qinghan was at the initial small success stage, while Qing Sihai had some achievements in the small success stage. Back then, Sovereign God Flowing Light had already reached the peak of small success stage. Even though he was only at the peak of small success stage, it was still easy for him to instantly kill Yi Qinghan and Qing Sihai. At this level, it was still difficult to deal with Ghost Taoist Flowing Void. At this level, it was completely dependent on the understanding of the profound mysteries of the laws. It was useless to fight with strength. An expert could kill someone with a thought. Sword God Dugu and Xianyuan Feiyang turned into a ray of sword light and flew over Qianxi City. They just happened to bump into Sovereign God Lingtian and another branch leader of the God-slaying path, who had just left the city. The four of them were wary of each other. Sovereign God Lingtian and that God-slaying path expert didn't know that Sword God Dugu and Xianyuan Feiyang were here to help Yi Qinghan, so they chose to take the initiative to retreat. However, Sword God Dugu knew that Yi Qinghan's target was the God-slaying path and 6 gods Dao sect. Sword God Dugu was overbearing and always blocked Sovereign God Lingtian's path, making it impossible for him to pass. Dao friend Dugu, we've minded our own business. What's the meaning of you blocking my path time and time again? Sovereign God Lingtian asked indifferently. I've accepted a mission. Can the two of you give me some face and stay here today? Sword God Dugu held the Sun-Moon Divine sword and said calmly. Impossible. My God-slaying path has accepted a mission. How can we retreat because of you? Dao friends, you should be clear about the foundation of my God-slaying path. It's best if you don't provoke us. Sovereign God Lingtian said coldly. Then don't blame me for being merciless. Sword God Dugu held the sword hilt and a sword rainbow came from the east. The true intent of defeat was loneliness, arrogance, power, and coldness. Xianyuan Feiyang pulled out his sword at the same time. His aura was like a rainbow. Qianxi City could feel the terrifying aura from 1,000 miles away. Don't show mercy. Leave the two of them here. Sword God Dugu's killing intent was set. Since he had already made his move, then there was no need to show mercy. What a joke. You and I don't even need to fight. What can you do to me? Sovereign God Lingtian was disdainful. His fingertip shook and a 9 dragons sword appeared. There were 9 sword thorns on the tip of the sword. As long as it pierced the body of an expert, the body would die without a doubt. This kind of specially forged weapon was the most terrifying weapon of the god-slaying path. Boom! The 4 super first-rate experts soared into the sky and started fighting. The 4 of them were evenly matched. The only difference was that Xianyuan Feiyang's weapon wasn't as good as the other 3's. However, the Sun Moon Divine Sword was one of the 10 great weapons of the Primal Chaos era and surpassed the 9 Dragons Sword. The Sword Tao of the 4 almost caused the heaven and earth to cry out. Numerous ravines broke through 1,000 miles and almost broke through Qianxi City's defenses. In an instant, the surrounding 1,000 miles was in a mess. Some small counties were uprooted. The commoners hid in the depths of the ravines created by the 4's battle. The majority of them actually managed to escape. Xiao, the 4 of them fought back and forth, causing the heaven and earth to shatter. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong didn't know that Lingtian had already been blocked. At this moment, he was rushing towards the Dragon Gate in alone. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but be overjoyed to see him come here alone. Let's work together and kill him first. Yi Qinghan was excited. He held his spear and rushed towards Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Emperor Yi and Long Zai followed closely behind. 3 lords against 1 super first-rate lord. Even if they couldn't defeat him, they wouldn't lose too badly. Zixian and Dong Qin stayed where they were while protecting Long Quan. They didn't get close to the battlefield. A battle between super first-rate lords was no longer something half-step lords could interfere with. Even if their combat constitutions were restored to the same combat strength as before, it was impossible for them to fight a lord of this level. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's spear pierced through the void. A time vortex flowed as if reincarnation had reappeared. Kill! Roar! Emperor Yi sword and a chaos dragon appeared. This was a true chaos dragon, but it had just entered lord level. Its aura was monstrous, suppressing all Daos as if a supreme god had personally descended. The weakest was the young lord, Long Zai. However, it was better than nothing. With her cooperation, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi would have an easier time. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong was shocked. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi to have broken through. Damn overturning 4 Cs. You can't do anything right. How can you not find out such important information? Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong roared in his heart. He formed a seal with his hands, and a spatial shield appeared on him. It could block a Lord Weapon's full-force attack. Junior, do you think 3 lords are enough to fight me? Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong sneered disdainfully. He drew a divine sword majestically. The void in front of him split into hundreds. He seemed to be right in front of him, but he was actually standing in another space. Open! Whoosh! The Spear of Time was indestructible and nothing could stop it. It crushed hundreds of spaces, and appeared in front of Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong. It's the Spear of Time. I couldn't find it in Huahai City, and now you've delivered it to me. Ha ha, Yi Qinghan, I'll leave your corpse intact. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong was overjoyed. He charged toward Yi Qinghan aggressively. Chapter 882. Boom. The battle between the Time Master God and the Space Master God stirred up gales and caused space-time to become chaotic. A chaos dragon covered the sky, cooperating perfectly with Yi Qinghan. Long Zai could only support from the outside and could not participate in the battle at all. Whoosh, whoosh, Whoosh! Space shattered continuously. No matter how stable it was, it could not withstand the attacks of the four masters. A spear pierced through the void and smashed the shackles as it arrived before Ghost Taoist Flowing Void. Whoosh! The spear pierced through Ghost Taoist Flowing Void's figure, but it was just an afterimage. Ghost Taoist Flowing Void had long disappeared. Ha ha ha, ignorant junior, how dare you attack me? Ghost Taoist Flowing Void laughed maniacally. He was already in the air, his palms forming seals as he controlled the area within 100 miles. Space domain. Freeze. Whoosh. Instantly, the space within 100 miles froze, without any ripples. Yi Qinghan, Emperor Yi, and the others were all controlled by the space domain. Shatter. Ghost Taoist Flowing Void's will descended upon Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, wanting to crush their divine bodies. Roar! The Chaos Dragon roared into the sky, shattering the surroundings. Its supreme divine power destroyed the domain suppression as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. However, the place where Yi Qinghan was standing was instantly crushed, and Yi Qinghan's body shattered into pieces. Ghost Taoist Flowing Void watched as Yi Qinghan's body turned into dust and mocked him with disdain. Reckless Junior, you actually dared to oppose me, is that so? The space domain is indeed terrifying. However, what you don't know is that I'm also a space master god. Yi Qinghan's true body had already left his original position and was behind Ghost Taoist Flowing Void with his spear. Time domain, time reversal. A bolt of lightning shot out from the spear and struck Ghost Taoist Flowing Void. Whoosh! Time around Ghost Taoist Flowing Void started to reverse rapidly, causing him to panic. He realized that his strength was regressing, and so was time. It was as though he had returned to his youth. Damn it! You actually learned the time domain. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong was enraged. He hurriedly used the profound mysteries of time to forcefully reverse the order of time. However, Emperor Ye's giant chaos dragon swung its tail and smashed him deep into the ground. Boom! If it weren't for the space divine shield protecting Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong, his body would definitely have been smashed into pieces. Puff! Ghost Taoist Flowing Void was bathed in the river of blood and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Universe containment. At this moment, Long Zai dove into the abyss like a madman. He activated the Qiankuan gourd and wanted to suck Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong into the Qiankuan gourd to refine him. However, she had underestimated the power of Emperor Ye's attack. Flowing Void Ghost Taoist was falling rapidly, but the Qiankuan pot happened to generate a strong suction force. The two powers neutralized each other and saved Flowing Void Ghost Taoist's life. Boom! Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong slapped upward while flying backward. Terrifying divine power poured out, but most of it was sucked away by the Qiankuan gourd. Only a small amount of it hit Long Zai, but it still sent her flying into the void. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes and flew into the sky. He waved his spear and stabbed it into the abyss. Time spear, myriad life vicissitudes. Whoosh! The abyss was shattered by the divine power and continued to expand. Yi Qinghan turned into a bolt of lightning and charged into the ground. With the help of the Earth Origin, Yi Qinghan instantly controlled Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong's track. The spear pierced through the void and went straight for his body. Fire burning the sky. Frenzied blade chaotic god. Whoosh! 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 The rank 16 god fire drowned the abyss. The metal origin turned into tens of thousands of swords that tore the earth apart and charged into the ground. Roar of the earth. 10,000 arrows piercing the heart. The earth origin deep underground surged and formed tens of thousands of divine arrows that shot up from the depths. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong was caught in the middle. There was no way out. Spatial door. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong released his divine sense. He gritted his teeth and rushed through the fire origin and the sharp metal origin. He sensed the space above and disappeared from the ground. He reappeared in the sky. However, his soul was not in a good condition. He was a little dizzy from the rank 16 Godfire. Yi Qinghan's sure kill attack missed. When he turned back, he could not catch up with Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong. However, Emperor Yi, who was still in the sky, found another opportunity. He swung his giant tail and shattered the space. The sky was dark. He once again smashed Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong into the depths of the earth. After being attacked twice by the Chaos Dragon, Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong's divine power exploded. He actually managed to shatter the dragon's tail with one punch. Both sides were injured. Long Zai swooped down and followed Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong. She had experience this time. She did not immediately use the Qiankuan gourd to suck Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong. Instead, she followed him and waited for the force to end. It would definitely play a crucial role. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong wanted to stabilize his body. However, the ground was like tofu. Could not withstand the force at all. The ground was penetrated and his physical body was smashed into the earth's core. Yi Qinghan's earth origin was very dense. He caught sight of Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong's figure deep underground. He was holding the Spear of Time and traveling underground. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong only controlled the laws of darkness, time, and space. He did not understand the earth origin at all. At this moment, he could only wait for the force to dissipate. He could not sense Yi Qinghan rapidly approaching. Hua! Yi Qinghan was extremely fast. His speed underground was not faster than his speed in the air. He waved his spear and attacked Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong. 1,000 meters, 100 meters, 10 meters. Not good. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong was horrified. His veins bulged. Long Zai was waiting above with the Qiankuan gourd, and Yi Qinghan was coming from below. He could not go up, and his speed of descent was not as fast as Yi Qinghan. He only had one choice now. He had to dodge Yi Qinghan's attack and take Long Zai's attack head-on. Clearly, he made the right choice. Yi Qinghan's attack was much stronger than Long Zai's. Boom! Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong struck the ground with his palm. His body flew backward. Swallow the heavens and transform the earth. Contain the Qiankuan. Long Zai hated Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong to the core. At this moment, all her divine power was gathered at this moment. Boom! Waves of air surged into the sky, sweeping up tens of thousands of waves. The entire ground was uprooted. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong's strength was definitely one of the best. Now that he had used all his strength, he actually ignored the suction force of the Qiankuan gourd. He forcefully crushed the ground and swept Long Zai away. Die for me. Yi Qinghan's Spear of Time flew out from his hand. It pierced through the ground, ignoring the imprisonment of the ground, and smashed into the spatial divine shield. The terrifying impact pushed the 9 heavens. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong screamed. He lost control of his body and rolled in the depth. He instantly rushed into the sky and continued to rush into the depths of the clouds. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan withdrew the Spear of Time and rushed towards Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong again. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong was furious. He did not expect that he would be injured by 3 juniors. Chapter 883. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong did not expect that he would be injured by 3 juniors consecutively. He was enraged. His 10 fingers shattered the space, and his will covered 100 miles, controlling the space. You have successfully infuriated me. I will show you what a true Master God is. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong roared. Defend! Yi Qinghan sensed the aura of death and immediately warned. The space shattered, turning into thousands of sharp blades. It was terrifying. The void space could kill people without them noticing. A single thought could reverse the flow of time. The profound mysteries of the law of darkness enveloped the 3 master gods. Fire! Yi Qinghan waved his hand, burning all the darkness in the world and dyeing half the sky red. The law of time around the three of them distorted and retreated, causing the cultivation of the three youngsters to fall. Roar! A chaos dragon was ultimately a chaos dragon. With a single roar, it crushed the order of time. However, Emperor Yi could only protect himself. Yi Qinghan mobilized his godhead and tried his best to control the profound mysteries of the law of time. He enveloped Long Zai in his time domain, helping her defend. Otherwise, her cultivation would disappear completely. Join hands. Soul fusion! Yi Qinghan shouted in a deep voice. Emperor Yi and Long Zai immediately placed their hands on his shoulders. Their souls rushed into his sea of consciousness, and the three master gods' souls fused together. Hua! The powerful souls formed a giant god. The spear in his hand could shatter everything. He directly attacked Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong. At this moment it was a battle of wills. The four of them did not move their divine bodies, but their souls were fighting together. Once one of their wills was defeated, they would be killed instantly. Their soul would die and their divine body would dissipate. The terrifying time and space reversal made it impossible for Zixian and Dongqin to kill Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong's main body. Now, no master god could interfere in this battle. Woo-woo, the gale whistled as the eerie ghostly wind swept up the myriad layers of sand. Even the heavenly divine sect, which was tens of thousands of miles away, was scared silly. They didn't dare to watch the battle between experts of this level. The night gradually darkened. Finally, some lords began to approach the ruins of Manifold City. They watched Taoist priest Flowing Ghost fight Yi Qinghan and the rest. The space and time within 50 kilometers of them were in a mess. It was enough to instantly age a half-step lord or return to an era when they had no cultivation base. Yi Qinghan, Emperor Yi, and Long Zai's long hair fluttered in the wind. They didn't retreat a single step, forcibly resisting Taoist Flowing Void's soul attack. Taoist Flowing Void's three profound mysteries had all reached the peak of the minor level, and he was able to kill people without them noticing. Everyone was shocked speechless by Ghost Taoist Lu Kong's strength. They stared at him in disbelief. Very quickly, the Life Master God, Light Master God, and Darkness Master God of the Six Gods Tao sect arrived. When they saw that Ghost Taoist Flowing Void was actually able to control the laws of time and the laws of darkness, they were instantly infuriated beyond compare. Senior Brother Flowing Void, you actually dared to go against the will of the ancestors and comprehend three law boundary steals at the same time. The Life Over God was a beautiful young woman. She looked to be around 30 years old, but she had a feminine charm. She was extremely angry at this moment. Flowing Void couldn't explain, nor did he have the time to explain. He desperately mobilized his will, wanting to suppress Yi Qinghan and the rest. After killing them, he could explain whatever he wanted. If that didn't work, he could suppress them all at once. The Darkness Over God was a junior, someone of the same generation as Qing 4Cs. At this moment, he was looking at the battlefield in shock. He didn't understand how Flowing Void could comprehend the law of darkness. The law of darkness boundary steel had always been with him, and he had never shown it to Flowing Void. At this moment, Zixian and Dongqin brought Long Quan over from afar. They headed straight for the crowd, keeping a safe distance from the Six Gods Tao sect. Dongqin pulled Long Quan in front of her and said in a deep voice, "Life Over God, I have the celestial treasure battle body. You should know my master and this child." "Long Quan, why are you still so young? You're still alive?" The Life Over God was extremely shocked. Looking at the child in front of her, she suddenly thought of the flowing light over God, and her eyes dimmed. "Senior Aunt, Father said that if I woke up one day, he would release this image stone to the public. Then, he would let you lead the Six Gods Tao sect to suppress this ambitious person, Flowing Void." After Long Quan finished speaking, He turned to look at Flowing Void angrily, and took out the image stone. Zixian took it and used his divine power to project the image stone into the void. Flowing Void was shocked. He didn't expect Flowing Light to leave behind such evidence. It was enough to ruin his reputation. Damn that Ling Tian, why isn't he here yet? Are they all dead? Flowing Void was infuriated. His will weakened slightly, and Yi Qinghan seized the opportunity to force him back dozens of meters. And now, Master God Ling Tian and the other division leader of the Killing Gods Dao were being forced back by Sword God Dugu and Xianyuan Feiyang. The four of them stained the sky with their blood, and the shock waves almost implicated Qianxi City. If not for the defensive formation in the city being activated, Qianxi City would have been razed to the ground. Master God Ling Tian was furious. No matter how fast he was, he couldn't be faster than Sword God Dugu's sword. His assassination technique had lost its effect, and he was in a passive position. However, Xianyuan Feiyang was more miserable. The Master God weapon in his hand was shattered, and he could only stall for time. Sword God Dugu, get lost. Otherwise, the Killing Gods Dao will chase you to the end of the universe. Master God Ling Tian roared. We'll talk about the future in the future. My mission today is to keep you here. Sword God Dugu was so powerful that even Master God Ling Tian's mask was shattered. A few bloody holes appeared on his chest, and his divine body was almost penetrated. The 9 consecutive swords were also about to shatter. The Sun Moon Divine Sword was too powerful. The two of them were originally evenly matched, but the gap between them was now infinitely magnified. Ling Tian, as their greatest external aid, couldn't make it in time. Now, even if a Master God slave came, he wouldn't be able to overturn the situation. This was because the Darkness Master God, Life Master God, and Light Master God were all furious. You actually killed the Time Master God and Darkness Master God. You are the sect master of the 6 gods Dao sect. Flowing Kong, you will die a horrible death. The Light Master God was incomparably furious. He flew into the sky forcefully, radiating a brilliant light that suppressed Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong's eruption of the profound mysteries of darkness was completely suppressed by the Light Master God, causing Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong's aura to stagnate. On the other hand, Yi Qinghan and the other two's aura rapidly rose, suppressing Flowing Kong. Boom! The space was shattered by the 5 Master Gods. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong was forced back several steps and looked 1,000 years older. However, he still gritted his teeth and persevered. Spear of Time elapse. Hua! Yi Qinghan manipulated the Spear of Time with his will, piercing through the void and shooting towards Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong's body. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong no longer dared to take it head-on. He forcefully stopped his contest of wills with Yi Qinghan and was sent flying thousands of meters away, causing flames to erupt from the friction. Swish! 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 Yi Qinghan and the other two charged towards Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong. The Light Master God and the Life Master God had him surrounded as well. Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong was indignant. Looking around, he realized that not a single one of the people he had agreed to meet had arrived. You must be wondering why Ling Tian didn't come to help you, right? Yi Qinghan laughed evilly as he mocked back. Even your 2 most capable godslaves didn't come. Your good friends didn't come either. Don't you think there's something wrong? Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong glared at Yi Qinghan savagely as he howled. How did you know so clearly? Because your good companion, 4Cs, told me. Yi Qinghan laughed sinisterly, sending chills down one's spine. Chapter 884. Yi Qinghan's words infuriated Ghost Daoist Flowing Kong as he roared. Impossible! How could he have told you about my arrangements? Why not? Just knock him out and search his memories. Is that difficult for a Master God? Yi Qinghan smiled faintly. You knocked him out? Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong was getting more and more furious as he felt that things were getting out of his control. Ha ha ha, his physiognomy does give him extra points, but his performance is too poor. When I met him, I knew there was something wrong with him. However, the biggest problem isn't Qingxi Hai, but you. You really shouldn't have provoked me. You shouldn't have let the people of the god-killing sect target me, Yi Qinghan said coldly. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong looked at Yi Qinghan with hatred in his eyes. He had not expected that Qin Yanfei's words would cause his mission to fail. If not for Qin Yanfei acting coquettishly and telling Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong that she hated Yi Qinghan, Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong would not have specially mentioned to Ling Tian to let the killing god path target Yi Qinghan. Thinking about it, the reason why they had failed step by step was all because of a so-called silk pant. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong grinned coldly. The spatial divine shield had helped him block many calamities. As long as the spatial divine shield was not broken, he would be invincible. At least, no one could kill him, not even the Spear of Time. Flowing Kong, did you really kill junior brother Flowing Light and senior brother Darkness? The Life Master God asked furiously. Since you all believe in the contents of this image stone, why are you still asking me? The Six Gods Tao sect is a decaying sect. It clearly could have been bigger, but it gave up. I don't understand. Will the gathering of 6 laws really cause a sect at its peak to fall apart? Ghost Taoist Flowing Void was furious. He felt that no one in the world understood him. Isn't it falling apart now? Stubbornly stubborn, you did not hesitate to kill your own junior brother in order to unite the 6 laws. If not for the foresight of the ancestors of the 6 Gods Tao sect, they would have already started killing each other. Would it even be your turn to fight? Yi Qinghan said coldly. This fellow is right. Because of your selfishness, the 6 Gods Tao sect has already fallen apart. Is there a need to wait for the 6 laws to unite? The Light Master God roared. You all are ignorant. The 6 Gods Tao sect back then, the 6 Gods Tao sect would definitely be one of the strongest powers in the upper planes. The 6 Gods Tao sect. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong said unwillingly. How can the wisdom of the ancestors allow a selfish person like you to spout nonsense? I can understand that there are specializations in every field. If a person comprehends too many mysteries of the laws, they will definitely become unskilled in a single law. As time passes, the 6 Divine Taoist sect will definitely decline. Dividing the 6 legacies can stimulate the fighting spirit of the various legacies, ensuring the glory of the 6 Divine Taoist sect to this day. It's a pity that they lost to a sect master like you. Are you going to commit suicide to atone for your crimes, or do you want us to surround and annihilate you? Yi Qinghan said with disdain. Swish. The other 3 overgods of the 6 Gods Tao sect immediately surrounded Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong. They all hated him to the core. Clearly, Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong was unwilling to admit defeat. He was still waiting for overgod Ling Tian to arrive. Yi Qinghan shrugged and said indifferently, If you want to wait for Ling Tian, then I'd advise you not to. If I didn't even make such arrangements, wouldn't I be courting death? As for Qingxi Hai, he's probably already been detained by the righteous heavenly palace. I believe he'll be escorted here to beg for forgiveness before long. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong's face immediately changed. He did not expect Yi Qinghan's plan to be so meticulous, leaving no loopholes at all. I still have a few close friends and 2 god slaves. There's still a chance, Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong said coldly. You won't give up until all hope is gone. Don't forget that you've offended at least 8, if not 10, overgods over the years. I've already informed them through the intelligence system. Your 2 god slaves have yet to appear, so you should know what's going on, Yi Qinghan snorted coldly. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong did not believe that Yi Qinghan had cut off all his chances of survival. He glared at Yi Qinghan furiously. If it weren't for the overgods of the six gods Dao sect holding him back, he definitely would not have let Yi Qinghan go. Junior sister, junior brother, I can die. I can commit suicide to atone for my crimes. However, Yi Qinghan must die. This is an internal matter of our six gods Dao sect. An outsider should not interfere. My honor cannot be tarnished by him, so move aside. I'll kill him and commit suicide to atone for my crimes. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong was still unwilling to give up. He wanted to kill Yi Qinghan and take the opportunity to escape. You still have the face to say that this is an internal matter of the six gods Dao sect? My master revered you, but you killed him and even took the initiative to help me find the law of darkness boundary steel. How pretentious and disgusting. I will never believe your words again. If it weren't for this fellow, your next target would either be Martial Uncle Light or Martial Aunt Life. You're truly vicious, the current generation's overbod of darkness scolded angrily. A great man is ruthless. I'm only doing this to strengthen the six gods Dao sect. You don't understand, so I don't blame you, Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong sighed. There's no need to waste words with him. He killed my entire clan. Today, I want him to die without a burial ground. Long Zai activated the Qianquan gourd and was about to attack. Roar. Emperor Yi also transformed into a giant dragon and swept through the surrounding space, preventing Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong from using the spatial gate to escape. Whoosh. The overgod of light pointed out with his finger, and a majestic light element covered 100 miles, illuminating the surroundings and purifying all impurities. It could even destroy the physical body of a overgod. The life overgod sighed. After this night, the six gods Dao sect was indeed going to fall apart. However, the man she loved the most, overgod Flowing Light, had died in his hands. There was no way she could let Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong leave. More and more overgods gathered, and the surrounding space was completely sealed. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong wanted to escape, but he had nowhere to go. Ha ha, you guys forced me. Since you want to die, I'll grant you your wish. Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong was like a madman as he raised his head and laughed. He swallowed an unknown divine medicine, and the time godhood and darkness godhood in his sea of consciousness suddenly erupted. Driving his divine body, divine power poured out, and his physical body could not withstand it at all. His godhood swelled and was about to self-destruct. Let's die together, Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong roared. The self-destruction had already begun, and the order could not be changed. Once the self-destruction was complete, the entire Qianxi city might be destroyed. The heroes were shocked, and they all fled far away. Yi Qinghan and the others felt their hair stand on end. They could not be bothered anymore as they swept up Dongqin, Zixian, and Long Quan and tore through space to escape. Just as everyone was panicking, Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong let out a sinister laugh. The space overgod divine core shattered the void with his soul, vanishing without a trace. Boom! The self-destruction of a overgod was terrifying, and it swallowed the entire galaxy. Space and time in all directions collapsed. Many half-step overgods were destroyed, and their physical bodies were reduced to dust. The shockwave rushed into the Heavenly God sect at the foot of Qianxi City. The Heavenly God sect's defensive formation was shattered instantly, and the entire mountain range was reduced to dust. All the disciples in the sect died. Chapter 885. Flowing Ghost Taoist was a sly old fox who had been in the upper realm for countless years. If he did not even have this bit of ability, he would have died long ago. The self-destruction this time was powerful enough to swallow mountains and rivers, sweeping up tens of thousands of waves. The celestial sect was flattened, and only half of Qianxi City was left. There were countless casualties. Ling Tian, sword god Dugu, and the others stopped fighting and forcefully withstood the aftermath of the self-destruction. Otherwise, not even half of Qianxi City would be left. The older sovereigns didn't even need to think to know that Flowing Ghost Taoist was done for. It was definitely him who had self-destructed. Long Zai's self-destruction couldn't possibly have produced such a powerful force. Master God Ling Tian looked at Sword God Dugu furiously and said hoarsely, "Old thing, you've messed up the god-slaying sect's business. Just wait for the god-slaying sect to hunt you down." Sword God Dugu looked at Master God Ling Tian's bold face coldly and said disdainfully, "As long as you dare, I'll take you on. The god-slaying sect has more than 100 branches, and I can uproot half of them by myself." Master God Ling Tian's breathing stagnated. He was helpless against Sword God Dugu. He and Xianyuan Feiyang were independent cultivators who did not even have any relatives or friends. If they offended people like them, they would not rest until they were dead. They had caused a major organization to be in chaos. At this moment, Yi Qinghan charged out of the ground with everyone covered in dust and appeared before the four of them. Cough, cough. Yi Qinghan's chest felt heavy, and he could not exert any strength. In order to resist Flowing Ghost Taoist's self-destruction and protect the half-step over-gods like Dong Qin and Zixian, he had exhausted all his divine power. Flowing Ghost is dead? Sword God Dugu asked with a frown. He self-destructed. He should be dead, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice as he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Yi Qinghan, you're a over-god now? Ling Tian was furious. He hated Yi Qinghan to the core. Yi Qinghan's provocation had humiliated him. Even the god-slaying sect's headquarters had asked about it. It was obvious how big the impact was. Yi Qinghan shrugged his shoulders and looked at Ling Tian with a grin. The hatred between the two of them could no longer be explained with words. This was a conflict between a new generation expert and an older generation expert. Obviously, neither of them would compromise. Yi Qinghan said calmly, "You have good taste. You got it right. You forced Ghost Taoist Flowing Kong to self-destruct?" Ling Tian questioned. "Those who are unjust are doomed to destruction. Naturally, I have a part to play in that as well. However, he has offended so many people and killed the Master God of Darkness and the Master God of Flowing Light. Do you think the others in the Six Gods Dao sect will let him off?" Yi Qinghan countered with a question. "Who would have thought that the god-killing path's good thing would be ruined by you? Just wait for your death." Ling Tian roared angrily. "Then I'll kill you now." Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed with a cold light. He grabbed at the air, and the spear of time appeared in his hand. It was majestic, and his battle-intent soared. 2 against 1. "Senior Sword God, is that all right?" Yi Qinghan looked at Sword God Dugu and asked in a deep voice. "No problem. With you holding him back, killing him will be as easy as waving a hand." Sword God Dugu nodded, agreeing to it. When Ling Tian heard that, how would he dare to stay? Since Yi Qinghan had broken through to the overgod level, his combat strength was definitely not to be underestimated. He could kill so many of the same level as him when he was a half-step overgod. Now that he had reached the overgod level, he would not be inferior to ordinary overgods of the older generation. If he held Ling Tian back, it would not be difficult for Sword God Dugu to kill Ling Tian. "Go!" Ling Tian roared. The space became chaotic, and his figure disappeared right away. Boom! Yi Qinghan exploded. His spear pierced through the void, and time reversed. Heaven and earth danced as if he wanted to destroy the world. Whoosh! The other god-killing path branch leader also fled. Although this kind of existence who lived by assassination did not have much combat strength, their escape and concealment techniques were definitely top-notch. Sword God Dugu, Emperor Yi, and Xianyuan Feiyang exploded at the same time, wanting to kill these two powerful enemies. Whoosh! The void shattered, and a black hole swallowed everything. Yi Qinghan disappeared as well. His spear pierced through the void, and it was indestructible. However, he soon soared into the sky and appeared at the peak of the firmament. He held the spear in his hand and looked down on thousands of miles away. A drop of essence blood appeared on the spear, and it looked particularly dazzling under the scorching sun. Ling Tian was injured. He had suffered a fierce attack from the Spear of Time, but he took the opportunity to escape. Boom! Unfortunately, the other god-killing path over god was not so lucky. He was blasted out of space by the 3 over-gods at the same time. His body crashed heavily into the ground, and the friction caused towering flames to erupt. Sword God Dugu and Emperor Yi worked together. Xianyuan Feiyang attacked from the side, and his physical body was instantly destroyed. His godhead was imprisoned. Roar! Emperor Yi transformed into a giant dragon and unleashed a soul attack. The dignified Master God let out a blood-curdling scream on the spot. His shrill cry reverberated throughout the 9 heavens. This Master God's godhead was not the same as the godhead of the giant god of primal chaos. It was very weak, and could not withstand the attack of a soul Master God like Emperor Yi. There was a fundamental difference between the godhood of the primal chaos god and the godhood of the current sovereign. The godhood of the primal chaos god was born from primal chaos, and was incredibly powerful and compatible with the Tao of heaven. In total, there were 3,500 godhoods, which represented the number of godhoods in the Chaosverse. Even if a single godhood was lost, it wouldn't make any difference. That was the difference between the two. However, the godhead was still a godhead, and Emperor Yi would not let it go to waste. There were many people in the insane sect who could not become overgods, and they needed such a godhead. Seeing that Ling Tian had escaped, Sword God Dugu said, "Mission accomplished. I don't need your help anymore. I will leave now, but I must remind you that the god-killing path has more than 100 branches. Although most of them do not have the primal chaos god's godhead, their combat strength is definitely not weak. You have seen Ling Tian's cultivation, so run as far as you can." "Thank you for your help, Senior." Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and said. Sword God Dugu shook his head. He did not admit that this was a favor, but a debt. He then looked at Xianyuan Feiyang and understood what he meant. He then fled. Yi Qinghan looked at Long Zai, thought for a moment, and said indifferently, "Dao friend Long, I have helped you take revenge. The mastermind, Ghost Taoist Flowing Void, is dead, and the others are secondary. The god-killing path does not have a direct conflict of interest with you, so they probably will not pursue you. If you continue to follow us, it will be very dangerous. Let's split up." The corner of Long Zai's mouth twitched. Looking at Yi Qinghan's determined expression, she knew that he really did not want to stay with her anymore. She could not bear it. Perhaps she only wanted to tease Yi Qinghan, but she did not expect that she would develop feelings for him. The wisdom that Yi Qinghan displayed these days was really beyond her reach. "For Long Quan's safety, it is not wise to follow me. Kill Qing Si Hai and live in seclusion. I will return this time boundary steel to you. I no longer need it," Yi Qinghan said hoarsely as he returned the time boundary steel that he borrowed. "What about the Spear of Time? That was left behind by my father." Long Quan retorted rudely. "Little uncle, don't talk nonsense. I will leave the time spear for Dao friend Yi to use for now. We have no use for it." Long Zai frowned and said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. He held the time spear and used it very well. Without it, his battle prowess was at least a few levels lower. He said, "I need the time spear now. I will use it for a while. Once you become an overgod, I will return it to you." Chapter 886. Just as Yi Qinghan was preparing to escape to the Middle Plain, the Middle Plain began a fierce battle with the Sisui Plain as the center. In order to snatch Qin Wentian, the great demonic god Taoist physique had declared war on the savage sect and sent out a large number of experts to hunt down the experts of the savage sect. Overgods emerged one after another, and all the battle physiques rushed out. At this time, the sorcerer tribe had chosen to temporarily ally with the great demonic god clan. Yes, they had joined forces. In order to bring the chaotic universe back to the world, they had to gather all the battle constitutions and make the two factions the strongest. A large number of experts captured the Guangzhong sect and forced the Guangzhong sect to reappear. Di Longtian was Mo Li's most important target. Back then, he had publicly announced that the Guangzhong sect would kill him first. The middle plain was swept up by the two factions. Almost all forces were targeting the Guangzhong sect. Other than running, there was no way to fight. With so many overgods appearing, Gu Qingyu and the other leaders had no way to fight. Even after several death tribulations, they were only very close to becoming an overgod. Because of the Guangzhong sect, even Li Feng had become Mo Li's target. Li Feng was indeed the god of slaughter. He had defeated 5 battle constitutions consecutively and was only half a step away from becoming an overgod. More than 30 experts of the Guangzhong sect were chased and scattered. The great demonic god faction did not want to waste any more time and sent people to the mythical plane. They wanted to enter the endless plane and force the Guangzhong sect to compromise. However, as soon as Wu Yan stepped out of the ultimate god mountain, he was forcefully teleported out of the mythical plane. Then, the mythical plane emitted a towering divine light that isolated the heavens. No one could enter anymore. The second sorcerer god had reappeared. He sat cross-legged on the ultimate god mountain and gradually recovered his vitality. A terrifying aura was contained within the ultimate god mountain. A will shrouded the place and 2 defenses appeared, one on the ultimate god mountain and the other on the ultimate god mountain. This time, Wu Yan came with a large number of supreme treasures for the second sorcerer god's revival. The great demonic god faction was refused entry. Not to mention the endless plane, they could not even enter the mythical plane. The only entrance to the endless plane was the mythical plane. There was no solution. The great demonic god faction sent out overgods to attack, but they could not break the barrier and had to give up. It had been 14 days since the big hunt began. The Guangzhong had lost 2 masters and 4 juniors. Only the real masters dared to show up to attract the main force and let the others escape. The older generation of the Guang clan had no choice but to come out. That was because the younger generation was too weak. They were unable to fight against the Lord Gods, nor were they able to fight against their constitution. No matter how talented they were, it was a pity that they were too young. Yi Chentian was furious. He couldn't stand it at all. 4 of his childhood playmates had died in half a month. 2 elders had sacrificed themselves to protect the 2 of them. I will go to the Devil God Mountain and ask them to stop their pursuit, Qin Wentian said resolutely. Father said that you can't merge with the other constitutions. Once the chaotic universe reappears, all laws will be thousands of times stronger. Our cultivation will drop, and we'll become collateral and sacrificial lambs in the war between the 2 sides. Many more people will die. Yi Chentian said in a low voice. But we can't keep holding it in. Where did my uncle go? Qin Wentian trembled. He felt terrible. Those people had died because of him. I don't know. I can't contact them. I only know that they are still alive. Now we can only wait. Your inheritance is suppressed, and I can't undo it. We can only wait for Father to come back. Yi Chentian held the divine sword. On this day Yi Chentian was captured. He had nowhere to run when the 2 constitutions worked together. The Guangzhong clan was in a mess. Yi Chentian was also panicking. However, Mo Li did not seem to want to kill him. Instead, he wanted the ethereal body and Di Longtian to appear. I want to see the ethereal body and Di Longtian in 3 days. If I can't do that, then I will collect Yi Chentian's corpse. Mo Li's gloomy voice resounded through the world. Yi Qintian's soul was suppressed, and his divine body was bound by chains. He was hung on a mountain, swaying in the wind. He could not even commit suicide. In a valley, Gu Qingyu held the divine sword tightly, took a deep breath and shouted, "Lord God! Lord God!" It was not easy to break through to the Lord God level, especially for a single Lord God like him. He needed to have a terrifying understanding of the sword Dao. Li Feng was also there. He had 7 godhoods, and he was confident that he could break through to the Lord God level. However, in this era and this place, it was not suitable for a breakthrough. At the border of the universe, Di Longtian and King Qishan quickly conquered the entire plain. Countless creatures submitted to them. Di Longtian showed the appearance of an emperor. Even the heavenly dragons submitted, let alone the creatures. The power of faith roared and rushed into his sea of consciousness. It gathered into an endless river of stars and wrapped around the godhood tightly. He could break through at any time. Boom, boom, boom. Dragon blood boiled. Di Longtian broke through in front of everyone. He wanted the world to see and absorb more power of faith. Di Longtian showed a miracle. A golden dragon soared as he began to break through. The sword Dao godhood in his body was condensed by himself. It was much easier to recondense it now. The heavenly Dao killing sword allowed him to harmonize with the heavenly Dao, raising the quality of the godhood to a terrifying level. A single sword Dao godhood actually contained the mysteries of the grand Dao of heaven and earth. The space within it was almost at the level of a supreme godhood. The godhood gradually took shape. The sun, moon, and stars appeared at the same time, stirring up the wind and clouds. He could actually directly absorb the primal chaos energy and quickly convert it into sovereign power. King Qishan could see the mysteries of the Lord God up close. During this period of time, he felt more and more reverence for Di Longtian. He saw the Dao in Di Longtian, and he actually borrowed Di Longtian's momentum to break through. The plains stirred, forming a heaven-devouring whirlpool. The primal chaos energy of countless planes poured into the holy dragon plane, pouring into Di Longtian's godhood. King Qishan only absorbed a 10,000th of it, but he was able to forcefully change fate and create a Lord God godhood. Although the quality was very poor, he was indeed a Lord God. Di Longtian's face was ferocious. He was enduring the triple pain of his physical body, godhood, and soul. He also had to endure the golden dragon's evolution. Only he knew the pain he was facing. However, the pressure was getting stronger and stronger. Emoli only gave him 3 months. Now 4.5 months had passed. If Emoli couldn't find him, he would definitely vent his anger on the insane sect. "I want to ascend to godhood." Di Longtian slowly stood up and roared at the sky. His 10 fingers clenched the void, and he quickly absorbed the primal chaos energy. The holy dragon plane's luck was being forcefully absorbed by him, and the spiritual energy was getting weaker and weaker. The entire holy dragon plane was crippled. Roar. The golden dragon was about 100,000 feet long. One could only see the dragon's head but not its tail. With a low roar, it shook the galaxy. Roar. At the same time that Di Longtian was evolving, the heavenly Dao killing God sword shone with divine light and merged with the Dao of heaven and earth. Its divine might was vast, and it swallowed the galaxy. It was directly promoted to a Lord God weapon. Di Longtian's godhood had yet to be filled with sovereign power, but the holy dragon plane's spiritual energy was already lacking. He raised the sword and stepped on the dragon as he charged towards the water level. Everywhere he passed, all the spiritual energy was devoured. Chapter 887. Yi Qinghan was being hunted down by the killer god path, and was pinned down in the upper plane. The middle plane had no main god, so the insane sect was being bullied. Thanks to the sword of the heavens, Di Longtian had officially stepped into the Overgod realm. Furthermore, his Overgod spark had even surpassed the primal chaos giant god's godhood. Combined with his unique constitution, he had become an existence that surpassed a battle constitution. The heavenly dragon pierced through the clouds and charged toward the Sisui plain. It was majestic and murderous. As time passed, Di Longtian's sovereign power became more and more abundant. In the center of the Sisui plain, there was only 1 day left until the deadline set by Mo Li. More and more masters gathered in the Sisui plain. The intersex masters were also mixed in, ready to rescue Yi Qinghan. Qin Wentian couldn't bear it anymore. He couldn't just watch Yi Qinghan die. Yi Qinghan brought Qin Wentian closer to the Sisui plain and found that there were many people from both sides. They had all activated their battle constitutions and were waiting for the ethereal constitution to appear. As long as the battle constitutions of both sides arrived, the celestial constitution's influence would be minimal. By then, most of the planes would be gathered. Only a few small planes were at the edge of the universe or had been destroyed. At that time, the chaotic universe would still be the chaotic universe, but there would be many dangerous oceans and black holes. The people from both sides only wanted to restore the chaotic plane and bring the great era back. They would dominate the universe. They didn't care about the life and death of the living beings. Qin Wentian knew what would happen if he gathered with the battle constitutions, but he had no choice but to slowly approach. You can't gather with them yet. Wait and see if there's a chance to turn the tables, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. There's only 2 hours left. Uncle is definitely not in the middle plane. Otherwise, he would definitely appear, Qin Wentian said helplessly. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was still in the upper plane. However, he was in a worse situation than the middle plane. The Killer God Path had reached a point where they would fight to the death with Yi Qinghan for their dignity and face. Dozens of Killer Gods sect branches had joined forces to stop Yi Qinghan. If he had not become a chief god, he would have been wiped out long ago. Fairy Dongqin's cultivation was the weakest. If she continued to follow Yi Qinghan, she would definitely die. Therefore, Yi Qinghan asked her to choose a direction to escape in while he appeared to cover for her. You guys return to the Sisui realm. I'll keep them busy in the upper realm, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. It's too dangerous for you to be alone, Emperor Yi said worriedly. There are so many experts in the god-slaying path. You don't matter if you're there or not. I can escape however I want to. You guys hurry back to the middle plane. I have a feeling that something is about to happen, Yi Qinghan said anxiously. Zixian and Emperor Yi had no choice but to leave Yi Qinghan for the time being. They chose to lie low, took several territory gates consecutively, and forced their way out of the Dragonline realm. However, the Killer God Path's target was Yi Qinghan. Now that he was everywhere, the Killer God Path wanted to destroy him at all costs. Yi Qinghan did the exact opposite, specifically going to the bases of the God-slaying path's branches. The most dangerous place was also the safest place. Every time he appeared, he would go straight for the God-slaying path's branches. He would kill without mercy, causing the 2 branches of the God-slaying path to be completely annihilated. This was because the sovereigns of their branches had already gone after him. The Killer God Path was getting angrier and angrier. They had begun to implicate the innocent. The battle between the 2 sides caused the Dragonline realm to be littered with corpses and rivers of blood. Yi Qinghan controlled the 5 elements: time, space, order, karma, and other great Daos. When it came to escaping, his ability to escape was top-notch. As long as he did not face a lord, even the most powerful half-step lords were ants. The hatred between the 2 sides grew stronger. The Killer God Path, which was at its peak, was forced into a corner by a junior. 2 figures rushed out of the Killer God Path's headquarters. Their auras were terrifying beyond compare. They were definitely the best among the lords, the godhoods of the Chaos Giant God. The experts of the Killer God Path's headquarters came out personally to track down Yi Qinghan. The situation was urgent, and the people in the upper realms were in a state of panic. At this moment, Di Longtian had returned. Whether it was his physical body, soul, or godhood, they were all at their peak. A dragon's roar shook the mountains and rivers. The heavenly sword cut through time and space and appeared in the Sisui realm. No one expected Di Longtian to appear. Moreover, he appeared as the most powerful lord. He had only disappeared for 4 short months. At the cost of a realm, he had become a one-of-a-kind existence. In the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Di Longtian appeared. Emoli was not surprised. Instead, he was delighted. He looked at Di Longtian with an evil smile. So what if he was an lord? Could it be that he was stronger than his great demonic god path physique? I still need an incense stick's worth of time. If the empty spirit physique does not appear, I will not show mercy. Emoli ignored Di Longtian and shouted coldly. His voice resounded through the mountains and rivers, spreading far and wide. Let my brother go, and I will bring Wentian out. If you don't, you will never see the empty spirit physique again, Yi Chentian roared as he flew into the sky. Ha ha, Yi Chentian, what a close brotherhood. Since you have appeared, the empty spirit physique must be nearby. Emoli's eyes flashed coldly. He signaled the 4 great battle physiques behind him to look for the empty spirit physique. Wu Jiang also signaled the 3 great battle physiques beside him. He secretly transmitted his voice. As long as all the battle physiques appear and the realms merge, immediately kill the empty spirit physique. Her cultivation is the weakest right now, and she has yet to receive the inheritance. This is the best time. If we miss today, it will be impossible to kill her in the future. There were at least a few hundred lords gathered in the Sisui realm. Although none of them were lords with the primal chaos giant god's godhead, they were more than enough to deal with a half-step lord. Di Longtian was waiting for Emoli to release Void God Yi. The sword in his hand trembled slightly, as if it was about to appear and shatter the heavens. Emoli, release Void God Yi. Today is our battle. Di Longtian stood on the golden dragon and looked down. When he saw that all the experts had gathered here, he was filled with killing intent. Then take it. Emoli sneered and pointed his finger at the air, releasing all of the god-binding chains. Then, he threw Void God Yi to Di Longtian, who was still in the air. He waved his hand and shouted, "Surround this place for 10,000 miles and force the void spirit body out." Swish, 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 swish. All the experts moved out, searching for Qin Wentian. More than 10 experts rushed toward Yi Chentian. As long as they caught Yi Chentian, Qin Wentian would rush out without a second thought. You traitor! I want to see what kind of magic potion Yi Qinghan fed you to make you forget your ancestors' Will Jin inheritance. Emoli snorted. In the name of the ancient war god, I exterminate all enemies. Di Longtian took the initiative to attack. His sword pierced through the sky and went straight for Emoli. The might of a lord was vast and mighty, causing the ground to crack. All the experts below the Lord realm were blown away by the force, including the battle physique. You're just an ant. Emoli sneered and pulled out the demon god sword. The terrifying aura caused everyone to tremble. Other than Wu Jiang and Di Longtian, everyone else was defeated, including the lords. Hum, 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 hum. Suddenly, the melody of heaven and earth resounded. The sound of the zither shook the 9 heavens. It was as if the end of the world was blooming with the sounds of nature, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. Chapter 888. The hair-raising sound of a zither rang out. It seemed to be the beginning of the insane sect's counterattack. Dozens of figures rushed out from the crowd, filling the entire plain with sabers and swords. A chaos dragon was born from the chaos. Although Emperor Yi had turned into a dragon, a wisp of his soul was born, but it also evolved into a real body. He sat cross-legged on the dragon's head and silently played the zither. The mournful music made heaven and earth mourn, and 9 colored clouds covered the sky and earth. Juniors, do you think there's no one in the insane sect? Boom! The sound of the zither turned into thunder and exploded in everyone's ears. Those with weaker souls fell to the ground and could not get up. A wisp of willpower forced everyone to kneel. Puff! Even some of the overgods coughed up blood. Emperor Ye's willpower could not be disobeyed. The Chaos Dragon's inheritance has changed, and he has become an overgod. Wu Jiang and Mo Li's pupils shrank as they retreated hundreds of miles away. The two of them were overgods and the leaders of the 10 great constitutions. Naturally, they could retreat. However, if the others retreated, their constitutions could not retreat. Kneel! Roar! The Chaos Dragon roared, shaking the heavens and earth. A supreme divine might was vast and mighty, forcing everyone to kneel. Bang! Apart from Wu Jiang and Mo Li, they were the strongest among the 10 great constitutions. Their legs were twisted, and they could not withstand the supreme divine might. They knelt on the ground. No matter how strong their willpower was, they could not resist. Their faces were twisted, and all their efforts were just a last-ditch struggle. The expressions of the two factions changed. They did not expect Emperor Yi to be so strong. Wu Jiang and Mo Li had not advanced to the supreme divine spark, so they could not be compared at all. The universe had not been unified, and their constitutions were only slightly stronger than ordinary special constitutions. Others might worship them as gods, but in the eyes of Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan, they were just trash. Zixian descended from the void and stood on top of the Chaos Dragon. Although he was not an overgod, how bad could the people of the Purple Emperor's bloodline be? 2 great factions. How dare you join forces to bully my crazy sect and oppress my children? I will remember today's grudge. Emperor Yi stared coldly at Wu Jiang and Mo Li with murderous intent in his eyes. Fellow cultivator, please don't misunderstand. We, the Sorcerer Tribe, have no grudges against the Chaos Dragon. We were close friends during the Chaos Era. I was even indebted to Senior Yi. I bear no ill will toward the Kuang sect. Wu Jiang quickly explained. Is this how you treat the Kuangzong after receiving Master's kindness? You join forces with the Fiend Celestial clan to kill my sect's disciples. When Master returns, we will definitely make you pay 10 times the price. Emperor Yi shouted sternly. Wu Jiang's expression changed. He knew that this time, he had definitely pushed the inheritor of the Chaos Dragon to the opposite side. The Sorcerer Tribe would lose one of their most powerful external aid. No, perhaps 2. Once Yi Qinghan forged the true 9 Revolution chaotic Tao body, he would definitely be much more powerful than himself. I only want the ethereal spirit body back. She is a member of my Devil God clan. Fellow Taoist, aren't you being too overbearing? Mo Li coldly said. Mother, 4 of our sect's juniors died, and 2 of our elders died as well. Yi Chentian rushed over, his hatred overflowing. He only wanted to break through to the overgod realm at this moment and kill until there was not a single drop of blood left. Zixian looked at the experts kneeling all over the mountain. There were countless overgods. Although they did not have the guts to go against Emperor Yi, once a true expert with the primal chaos divine personality appeared in both factions, the Kuangzong sect might be dragged into the abyss. A little impatience spoils great plans. It's not good to offend both factions at the same time, Zixian reminded in a low voice. Emperor Yi glared at Mo Li, causing the latter to have goosebumps. Auntie, where's Uncle? Qin Wentian could not bear it any longer and rushed over from the depths of the void. She was too young and had always been in a state of protection. The dignified ethereal spirit body seemed a little delicate. Just as Qin Wentian rushed to Emperor Ye's side, the entire universe spun as if the sky was about to collapse. The sound of planes colliding could be heard continuously, deafening to the point of collapse. Emperor Yi was shocked. With a palm strike, he froze Qin Wentian in place and said hurriedly, "Don't come over, quickly retreat. Since you're here, don't even think about leaving." Mo Li's eyes lit up. He turned to Wu Jiang and said, "Since you've already offended the Guangzhong sect, let's work together to unify the primal chaos." Apart from the celestial treasure battle physique, all of the 10 great physiques had arrived. Zixian only felt the energy in her body changing. In fact, she was not the only one. Everyone's energy was undergoing a qualitative change. What was even more frightening was that most of the people's cultivation and realms were dropping rapidly, especially the overgods. Their divine energy and godheads were changing, and this was not a good change. No. My overgod position. Apart from the overgods who had the godhead of the primal chaos giant god, no one could keep their overgod position. The only ones who benefited were the 10 great physique. The suppression of the great Tao of heaven and earth was loosened, and their true power began to show. The great Tao of heaven and earth rumbled as if celebrating. Once the planes began to merge, there was no turning back. The great Tao of heaven was ethereal, but it also hoped for the primal chaos to unify. However, the great Tao of heaven could not achieve this step, so it could only rely on the 10 great physique. Boom! Boom! The battle physique roared and gradually broke free from Emperor Ye's suppression. Its legs trembled as it tried to stand up from the ground. The innate spirit physique Qin Wentian fell into a coma. The true inheritance was destined by the heavens. The moment the primal chaos merged, a large amount of the innate spirit physique's memories and secret arts rushed into her mind. The weak Qin Wentian could not withstand it and directly fainted. "Chen Tian, take her away." Emperor Yi was furious. The thing that Yi Qinghan had been trying to prevent had finally happened. "She can't leave." Mo Li roared and directly attacked Emperor Yi with the demon god sword. At the same time, he roared at the experts of the demon god clan, "Stop the innate spirit physique for me. Your opponent is me. Didn't you want to kill me? I'm right here." Di Longtian held the heavenly Tao sword in his hand. Surprisingly, his cultivation did not drop, and he was still at the overgod realm. At this moment, he was one with the dragon, and his body was unparalleled. "Big sister, take them away." Di Longtian's aura surged as he blocked Mo Li's path. Yin, Gu Qingyu and Li Feng's cultivation were not affected at all. Their foundations were solid, and they had not broken through until now. If it were others with such cultivation, they would have broken through long ago. Therefore, those people's cultivation were all reduced to their original state at this moment. The two of them pulled out their swords and attacked the enemies at the same time. "Cover Chen Tian and retreat. Take the innate spirit physique and leave quickly." The experts of the insane sect retreated. Many people's cultivation was dropping, but their battle physiques were getting stronger and stronger. The aura of the primal chaos shrouded them. The experts retreated, but if the innate spirit physique did not leave, the primal chaos would become faster and faster. Just as Emperor Yi was about to take Qin Wentian away, he was stopped by Wu Jiang. "Tao friend, please let nature take its course. The primal chaos will become one. This is the wish of the great Tao. No one can stop it." Wu Jiang stood in front of Emperor Yi and said in a deep voice, "Get lost." Boom! Emperor Ye's response was the terrifying tail of a giant dragon. The tail shattered the void, and the heavens and the earth cracked. Wu Jiang was after all the 9 Revolution Chaos Tao Physique, which was ranked first alongside the great demon god Tao Physique. He held the sorcerer god's spear in his hand and pointed it at the void. A golden lightning bolt was summoned and the space collapsed. The lightning bolt was indestructible, enough to kill an overgod of the same level. Roar! Emperor Ye's primal chaos energy poured out, crushing the space and colliding with the lightning bolt. Immediately, the battle physiques in the center of the battlefield were swept away, and many experts were injured or killed. Chapter 889. The battle constitutions of the Middle Planes gathered, the planes shattered the void, and the stars moved. The chaotic universe was quickly returning to its original state. The heavenly Tao that had been destroyed for countless years also seemed to show signs of recovery, causing the planes to move dozens of times faster. In the Dragonline plane, Yi Qinghan's expression changed. D*Eminent, I'm still one step too late. Yi Qinghan held the Spear of Time in his hand. He did not need to think to know that something big had happened in the Middle Planes. Otherwise, the ethereal bodies would not have gathered with them. Now, he wanted to return to the Middle Planes, but the god-slaying path was like tens of thousands of mad dogs, chasing after him. If not for his outstanding strength, he would have been killed by the god-slaying path. The longer Yi Qinghan lasted, the more people in the Dragonline plane would watch the show. There were even major factions betting on how long Yi Qinghan could last. There were many people who wanted to hit Yi Qinghan when he was down, but there weren't many who wanted to add to the icing on the cake. Yi Qinghan was running away by himself, but everyone in the world was against him. The people of the Six Gods Dao sect and Sword God Dugu did not attack anymore. The god-slaying path had gone mad like mad dogs. Whoever helped Yi Qinghan would have their sect slaughtered. The people of the god-slaying path also warned Sword God Dugu that if he dared to attack again, they would not rest until he was dead. The god-slaying path did not want to go against a loner like Sword God Dugu. Therefore, even when they killed a god-slaying path overgod last time, they did not fall out and only warned him. However, as time passed, the Dragonline plane officially merged with the other planes. The aura of chaos descended, and some of the god-slaying path overgods' positions began to become unstable. At least half of their overgods fell to half-step lord level. This helped Yi Qinghan. The number of overgods was reduced by half, and the pressure of chasing after Yi Qinghan increased by half. Some overgods began to fall when they chased after Yi Qinghan. In the end, a dozen of them were stabbed to death by Yi Qinghan. When the chaos returned to one, everyone was implicated. Some of the powerful sects that had overgods suddenly lost their overgod. For a time, everyone was in a state of panic. Chaos had reappeared, and there were both good and bad. The plane had stabilized, and flying seemed to have become the most difficult thing to do. Originally, lesser gods could fly, but now even high gods had to travel on foot. Moreover, the plane had suddenly expanded, and it was too difficult to cross a city. Yi Qinghan found an opportunity to escape from the eyes of the world. He looked for directions and prepared to return to the Sisui district. The current Sisui plane could no longer be considered a plane. It could only be considered a region, and a very small one at that. It would be extremely difficult to find such a location in the chaotic universe. The middle plane fell into chaos. No one knew who was the enemy and who was the ally. People were killed on sight. The people of the arrogant sect gradually gathered. As more and more people died, the arrogant sect naturally suffered losses. There were very few people in the arrogant sect, only 30 in total. After losing so many during this period, there were only 20 of the older generation left. These people had fought side by side with Yi Qinghan and participated in the War of the Emperors. They had deep feelings for each other. It was impossible to imagine how angry Yi Qinghan would be when he returned to the Sisui district. Because of Wu Zhang's restraint, Emperor Yi could not stop the chaos from reappearing, no matter how strong he was. Heavenly might, precepts, great path, origin, and gravity were all changing. The heavenly path was grateful for the war constitution that allowed the chaos to reappear. The forces with war constitutions had extremely rich luck and benefit. Purple Qi came from the east, But the murderous aura was even more chilling. Blood flowed like rivers in the Sisui district. De Longtian was actually able to withstand Mo Li's crazy attack. Although he was injured, it was still shocking. The dignified number 1 war physique actually couldn't kill De Longtian. The transformation of this insane sex junior was too terrifying. Emperor Yi did not want to continue killing like this. They did not care about their lives, but the arrogant sect did. With the chaos reappearing, Wu Jiang no longer wanted to keep the empty spirit physique. He wanted to kill him completely and make the great demonic gods clan lose the empty spirit physique. Kill the empty spirit physique, Wu Jiang said firmly. Then go to hell. Emperor Ye's killing intent was aroused. He did not want to waste any more time. The giant dragon rolled up the space-time and the world spun. A terrifying vortex caused the stable space-time to fall into chaos. Wu Jiang did not want to fight with Emperor Yi, so he quickly fled. Emperor Yi did not want to waste any more time. The longer they fought, the more losses the arrogant sect would suffer. Now that the arrogant sect was developing, they could not afford to waste any more time. Retreat! Emperor Yi roared. De Longtian knew that he was no match for Emoli now. When the chaotic universe was completely merged, the great demonic god's Taoist physique might become even stronger. He was extremely unwilling to give up. He struck the demonic god's sword with his sword, and his aura surged for thousands of miles. He used the momentum to retreat to Emperor Ye's side. There were still 20 of the younger generation left. They had lost more than half. There were also 20 of the older generation left. They had lost a third. The arrogant sect had suffered heavy losses. There was no need to mention the people from the two camps. In this chaotic battle, they had lost more than half of their core forces. The people from the arrogant sect hated the people from the two camps. However, the people from the two camps did not know whether to blame the sorcerer tribe or the arrogant sect. As for those who wanted to take advantage of the chaos, they had lost even more. In order to curry favor with the two camps, they had ambushed the arrogant sect several times. They had caused a lot of trouble for the arrogant sect, but now more than half of them had died. Return to the mythical realm, Emperor Yi said hoarsely as he looked at the wounded people. Now that the realms have changed, the location has changed. It may be difficult to find the mythical realm, Zixian reminded him. What about the endless realms? Emperor Yi was shocked. There were no masters in the endless realms. It would be difficult to resist the invasion of the strong. The endless realms originally belonged to the mythical realm. The two realms are compatible. Their location has not changed. However, there is no entrance to the realms. If outsiders want to enter the endless realms, they will not need to enter the mythical realm, Zixian said truthfully. Emperor Yi tried to use the messaging charm. Unfortunately, the distance was too far. He could not contact Jianqianxue at all. The mythical realm was originally very small. At least compared to the other middle realms, it was the smallest. It was difficult to find the mythical realm, let alone the endless realms. The Z family has a small tribe in the mythical realm. I will try to contact them. Zixian thought for a moment and decided to use the family's power. The realms were moving. Soon, a huge realm was formed. It was boundless. There was no end and no beginning. Stars twinkled and spun around this chaotic universe at high speed. Yi Qinghan was anxious. He wanted to use the realm gate to return to the Sisui district. However, the god-killing path had sealed all the realm gates in the nearby cities. If he wanted to leave the dragon district, he could only rely on flying. However, there were very few people who could fly now. Once he flew, his whereabouts would be exposed. Damn it! Yi Qinghan was so anxious that he cursed. Looking at the legendary chaotic realm, he could not help but feel despair. A Lord God would need hundreds or thousands of years to travel across the dragon district. How many years would it take to travel across the entire chaotic realm? Where could he find the Sisui district and the mythical realm in such a huge realm? Now, not to mention Yi Qinghan, even the people from the two camps were confused. The original location had changed, and the star map had lost its effect. Chapter 890. Now that the planes had changed, the stars had moved, and all the planes had returned to one. The planes that were originally close to each other were now separated by 10,000 years. The people of the two factions only cared about the benefits in front of them, but they didn't expect that they would become the two sides that suffered the most losses. They had lost contact with many of their vassal forces. Yi Qinghan was like a headless fly. He didn't know where to go, nor did he know where Emperor Yi and the others were. Let's leave the Dragon District first. I'll go crazy if I continue to be entangled with the god-killing path. Yi Qinghan put away his spear and walked towards the border of the Dragon District. Now that the plains had merged, battlefields could be seen everywhere. Annexation and competition became easier. Without the plain boundary river, it meant that there was no restriction, causing the chaotic universe to be filled with smoke. Looking at the current era, Yi Qinghan sighed. He was even more worried about the current situation of the Endless District. Could the Endless District, with all its experts, withstand the enemy's attack? Now, in the mythical district, the violent Dragon Empire had begun to send a large number of troops into the Endless District. The Endless District had developed into a large area. In order to concentrate the troops, Lu Aotian discussed with Lu Zhantian and the others to withdraw from the mythical district and station in the Endless District. Lu Zhantian didn't have any objections, and Luo Jie was a soldier under Lu Aotian, so he naturally agreed. The army led by Xia Qiue also agreed to station in the Endless District. The army moved out, and the violent Dragon Empire moved half of its territory. Those who were willing to follow the violent Dragon Empire all moved to the Endless District. The violent Dragon Empire was now an empty shell, and only a small number of people chose to stay in the mythical district. The Endless District, with Owl War Star and the Imperial District as the base, was heavily guarded and repelled dozens of enemy attacks. Now, Lu Aotian and the others didn't want to be the main force. They only wanted to guard the Endless District. The faster they developed, the more they would be targeted by other major forces. Emperor Yi and the others finally found the mythical district with the help of Zixian's family. They found that they could only leave the mythical district and couldn't enter. They could only take a detour to the Endless District. With the violent sect's return, the pressure on the Endless District immediately decreased. The pressure on them was indeed much less. With the presence of the main gods, they could at least protect themselves. However, Yi Qinghan, who was tens of thousands of light years away, was somewhat dumbfounded. After leaving the Dragon Row district, they had arrived in an ancient forest swamp. There was a wide river running for thousands of miles. There was no end in sight. The forest on both sides was filled with ferocious beasts and poisonous snakes. Powerful divine beasts could be seen everywhere. Times had changed, and the vast majority of people's realms were changing. Their cultivation levels were dropping, and some beasts that had never appeared in the world before had appeared. Their strength was boundless, and their speed was faster than lightning. They were even faster than Yi Qinghan. The abilities of these ferocious beasts were ridiculously powerful, and they were naturally gifted. Some ferocious beasts could spit lightning from their mouths, capable of destroying sovereigns. Some ferocious beasts could spit venom, capable of killing all living beings. The goshawk in the sky let out a shrill cry, and from time to time, it would dive into the depths of the forest. From time to time, a huge python would shoot out from the depths of the forest, and the goshawk would be crushed in an instant. The aura of death was everywhere, and there was no safe place. Yi Qinghan surveyed his surroundings and cautiously took out the Spear of Time. In order to conserve his divine power, he forged a wooden raft. Standing on the raft, he floated down the river at a rather fast speed. The aura of chaos grew denser, and the pressure in the sky, the gravity on the ground, and the suction force were all increasing. Some of Yi Qinghan's great Tao laws were also becoming rather unstable, and his cultivation level was actually beginning to drop. Yi Qinghan frowned. He was involved in too many great Tao laws and origin mysteries. There were some that he had yet to fully comprehend, so it was normal for his cultivation level to drop. However, he discovered that all of his great Tao origins and origin mysteries were rather loose. If this continued, his cultivation level might very well drop to half-step Lord level. As time passed, the chaotic universe had mostly recovered. Yi Qinghan's Lord persona began to undergo a qualitative change. Its quality declined, and so did his cultivation level and combat strength. This situation did not just happen to Yi Qinghan. Instead, the entire universe's cultivation level and realm were dropping. This was because the heavenly Tao of chaos was far, far more powerful than ordinary upper and middle realms. It was even possible for some people in small realms to drop directly from Emperor level to Grotto Heaven level. The people from both camps had predicted this would happen long ago. The only ones who were unaffected at the moment were the powerhouses who possessed the Chaos Giant Godhead and the widely known combat constitution. Only their cultivation level did not drop. Their combat constitution's cultivation level did not drop or increase, but their combat strength of the same level was skyrocketing. Yi Qinghan could not be bothered with the combat constitution's cultivation level. All he wanted was to maintain his current cultivation level. Once he dropped to half-step Lord level, he would be targeted at all times in this universe where battles were everywhere. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the raft and mobilized the origin of water to increase the speed of the raft. He then went into closed-door cultivation to consolidate his Lord persona. However, his Lord persona of space was the first to drop. He had reverted to half-step Lord level, and his ability to sense the arcane of space had dropped by more than half. Next was the arcane of time rule, which had dropped to the level of a lord. If it were not for the spear of time, his current cultivation level would definitely be reduced to less than a third. The sky gradually darkened. With a wave of his arm, Yi Qinghan consolidated 2 water dragons. They pulled the raft along and shot across the river like a bolt of lightning. Some terrifying creatures began to roll about in the river as if demons were about to charge out. A ray of sun shone from the west, but it was blocked by the forest. It was a dark red, and it appeared rather terrifying. Yi Qinghan held the spear in his hand. He was very vigilant as he looked for a place to land. He did not want to spend the night on the gloomy surface of the water. The current universe was no longer the same as it used to be. Only the heavens knew exactly how many new species would appear. Yi Qinghan did not want to bet on his luck. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, whoosh whoosh whoosh, the river on both sides opened up a path for the raft. The raft rode the wind and broke through the waves. The fierce wind swept up the battle robes and made a flapping sound. Suddenly, a cliff appeared in front of them. The river was cut off, revealing a huge waterfall. Below it was a huge, murky lake. Occasionally, giant pythons would transform into dragons and soar into the sky. Yi Qinghan did not interfere with these creatures. Instead, he soared into the sky and rushed towards the end of the lake. After galloping for an entire night, he finally discovered an ancient continent in the early morning of the second day. Many villages were built along the river. There was a statue by the shore of the lake. It was at least 1,000 feet tall and resembled a water buffalo. However, its body was huge like a primordial beast. This water buffalo statue was probably built to prevent floods and suppress water demons. Yi Qinghan landed outside a small mountain village. The sky had brightened for a while, but many villagers were still coming out. They discovered him. There's a foreigner. The villagers cried out as if they had seen a rare animal. Yi Qinghan's clothes were different from the ordinary villagers. He emitted a divine glow and appeared somewhat sacred. He attracted the attention of many villagers. Many children also came to watch. Yi Qinghan smiled and cupped his fist. He said, "This humble one unintentionally stepped into this place. I have no ill intentions. Can you tell me where this place is? Is there a big city nearby?" Chapter 891. There were thousands of villagers who seemed to have come from the wilderness. They all had some cultivation, and there was no lack of emperors among them. The children's cultivation wasn't bad either. They had never cultivated and were only passing down their legacies. As time passed, their cultivation would grow higher and higher. They looked at Yi Qinghan curiously. They weren't afraid, only puzzled. Big city? Of course there is, but it's very, very far. A youth dressed in hunter's clothing and animal skin spoke softly. His thick arms were bare, and he carried a longbow on his back. Several mysterious heaven arrows emitted a threatening cold aura. There wasn't the slightest bit of hostility. "Brother, may I ask where the road to the big city is?" Yi Qinghan looked at this group of simple villagers. There were no evil thoughts or desires in his eyes. He couldn't help but yearn for this life. This was the life he wanted. He didn't want to be a peerless hero. The road is very rugged, and there are some places where you can't walk. It's a long story, but it's a coincidence that we're going into the city the day after tomorrow to buy some goods. Why don't you come with us? The youth was very hospitable and replied with a smile. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. Without a route, 1 or 2 days would be wasted. It was better to just go with this group of villagers. "Thank you very much," Yi Qinghan immediately said. Soon after, a large group of people gathered around and asked all sorts of questions. They seemed to yearn for life in the outside world. Yi Qinghan smiled wryly and shook his head. Compared to the outside world, this place was simply a holy land. It was peaceful and harmonious, without any fighting. After a while, the youth arranged a room for Yi Qinghan. After some discussion, he found out that his surname was Wang and his name was Wang Jun. It was a very ordinary name, but he was one of the top experts in the village. After Wang Jun had arranged everything, he said, "The village might be a bit busy these few days, so I won't be able to take care of you. You can walk around as you wish, but don't go near the barbarian bull statue, and don't go under the water either. It's very dangerous there." Yi Qinghan was quite curious. This landscape seemed very peaceful and there was nothing wrong with it. However, he didn't ask in detail and nodded in agreement. After that, the Wang army led a large number of experts in the village into the forest. They would enter the city the day after tomorrow. Only by hunting more beasts and selling more money would they be able to add more goods to the village. This was already an unwritten rule. Yi Qinghan watched them enter the forest and then looked around the village. Unknowingly, he still came to the stone bull statue. It was 100 zhang tall and just happened to block the gap below. If the bottom of the bull was included, this stone bull statue was at least a few hundred zhang tall. Who carved this barbarian bull? Why is it placed here? Yi Qinghan was quite curious. He hadn't even gotten close to the bull when he was stopped by a 16 or 17-year-old village girl. The village girl was about 1.7 meters tall. She was delicate and pretty, but also very plump. She had a tender face and deep eyes that were untainted by a speck of dust. "Outsider, you can't get close to great god barbarian bull. Blaspheming a god is wrong," the village girl firmly said. At the corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched as he looked at the bull. It was only a stone statue, and it was a bit bigger than the normal ones. If he was bored, he could carve one today. He could even add seals and profound mysteries to it. It would be much more powerful than this stone statue. Was there a need to worship it as a god? Why do you say it is a god? It is just a very ordinary statue. Yi Qinghan suspiciously asked. Outsider, what do you know? Don't talk nonsense. If you offend a god, you will be punished. The village girl angrily rebuked. It has performed miracles before? Have you seen it? Yi Qinghan asked again. Of course. Every year, it will perform miracles to protect my villagers. When spring comes, the lake water will rise. This stone statue will evolve 10,000 zhang, and divine light will cover 1,000 li. It will block the cold water from entering the lake. This is why my village has been passed down to this day. The village girl tenderly snorted. She was quite dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan. The cold water was the coldest water in the world. It was still liquid, but it was not frozen. This kind of water could freeze a god to death. The higher the level, the more powerful it was. It was definitely not something an ordinary villager could deal with. Yi Qinghan passed by the bull statue and reached out to touch the lake water. He discovered that it was bone-chillingly cold. Hiss hiss, Yi Qinghan sucked in a breath of cold air. However, he did not take it out of the water. He curiously looked at the lake water. The water upstream was not this cold, so why was the water here so cold? Are you crazy? You actually went to touch the lake water? Hurry up and take it out. Otherwise, your body will turn into an ice cube. The village girl loudly shouted. Yi Qinghan slowly withdrew his hand. He couldn't help but laugh at the village girl's anxious appearance. Not really. Although the water is cold, it is not in the state of cold water. Perhaps it will be coldest at the end of winter and the beginning of spring. Yi Qinghan calmly said. How do you know? The village girl looked at Yi Qinghan in astonishment. Apart from the villagers, only the villagers knew about the changes in the lake water. At this time, the divine bird suddenly jumped out. It appeared completely out of thin air, and its white feathers spread out. It was quite majestic, because this divine bird told him that there is a heart of frost at the bottom of the lake. It is a divine object. However, this divine bird does not know why this buffalo statue appeared here. The divine bird flapped its wings and said, Wow, a talking parrot. My brother also has one, but it is so stupid. It can only say a few words. The village girl excitedly shouted. The divine bird rolled its eyes. How could an ordinary parrot be compared to a divine bird? I will go to the bottom of the lake to take a look. You stand guard above. After Yi Qinghan finished speaking, he rushed into the lake with the spear of time in his hand. In the blink of an eye, he sank 100 meters into the lake. The water in the lake was bone-chilling cold. Yi Qinghan activated the fire and water essences in his body to protect his true body. The bottom of the lake was gloomy, and there was no light at all. It was very difficult to see the scenery below. At the bottom of the muddy lake, there would occasionally be sparkling things swimming around, providing Yi Qinghan with some light. Even with his divine power supporting his eyes, he could only see things within 3 to 5 meters. He couldn't see anything beyond that. Yi Qinghan continued to dive down along with the stone statue. He realized that he had underestimated this stone statue. The 1,000-foot stone statue above him was only the tip of the iceberg. After diving down, he realized that it was only a head. The real body was still below. What is this stone statue suppressing? There are actually such profound runes. Yi Qinghan realized that the barbarian bull below was covered in runes. They were profound and unfathomable. They were similar to the runes in the divine tomb. However, the runes here seemed to be suppressing something. The cold air became thicker and thicker. Ice crystals gradually appeared on the surface of Yi Qinghan's skin. His blood and qi appeared to be in a stagnant state. His strength was rapidly depleting. After diving another 100 meters, he finally discovered that this original was a completely different world. The entire village was a floating island. Below it was the lake, and above it was the soil. The barbarian bull's 4 limbs appeared. As he dived deeper, he realized that there were more and more runes. The barbarian bull's weight increased by thousands of times. It was enough to suppress a main god. He dived deeper and deeper, reaching 1,000 meters. Yi Qinghan, who had a 5 elements Dao body, began to tremble. His divine sense was in a daze. Finally, he discovered that the barbarian bull's 4 limbs were actually stepping on a terrifying flood dragon. It was even larger than a sky dragon. It was at least 10,000 meters long and occupied the bottom of the lake. Above the flood dragon and below the barbarian bull was a floating heart of ice. The cold air was enough to freeze a main god. Yi Qinghan looked at the huge flood dragon's head covered in ice crystals. It was completely frozen. He couldn't help but be shocked. Who did this? What was the origin of this flood dragon? To actually use such a large formation to freeze it? Hiss, Yi Qinghan couldn't withstand the temperature at the bottom of the lake. He soared into the sky and appeared above the lake. Chapter 892. After returning to the shore, the village girl stared at Yi Qinghan with a frightened expression. She didn't expect him to survive after jumping into the lake for so long. It had to be known that the village chief strictly forbade anyone from entering the lake. This was because in the past, even a deity who fell into the lake didn't come back up. What's down there? The village girl asked curiously. Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "It's pitch black. There's not even a fish or water plant. Do you want me to bring you down to take a look?" "No way. Grandpa will beat me to death if he finds out." The village girl shook her head and hurriedly ran back into the village. She didn't dare to stay here any longer. The divine bird didn't believe that there was nothing at the bottom of the lake. It looked at Yi Qinghan and asked, "Did you find the heart of ice? Did you bring it up?" "It's at the bottom of the lake. I don't know who used it to seal a python, but it's a bit too big. It's the biggest monster I've ever seen. This barbarian bull isn't simple either. It's covered in runes for the purpose of suppressing the python. For someone to use the heart of ice and such a huge stone bull to suppress this python, I'm afraid it's not simple. I didn't go to retrieve the heart of ice." Yi Qinghan shook his head. "Are you stupid? It's been frozen for so long. Even if it's a dragon, it should be dead by now. Why do you care so much? Just bring it up. The heart of ice is a good thing. As long as you refine it, you'll be truly invincible within the same realm. No one will be able to contend against you," the divine bird confidently said. Yi Qinghan shook his head and rejected the divine bird's impulsive request. He indifferently said, "There's no rush. The heart of ice won't run away. I need to find out what's being suppressed before I make a decision. If I release a giant monster, and an invincible one at that, wouldn't I end up killing a lot of people and burying myself? Why are you becoming more and more timid?" the divine bird disdainfully asked. "That's because you're becoming more and more brainless. This is the era of primal chaos. I'm not invincible within the same realm. Opponents are everywhere. Please use your brain. To be able to carve such a large stone sculpture, carve runes that even I don't understand, and even use the heart of ice to suppress such a vicious creature, how could it be simple? If it's not dead and I take out the heart of frost, I won't be harming anyone but myself," Yi Qinghan said helplessly. "I was just testing you. It seems like you've really grown up. You're not as gullible as before." However, this divine bird also feels that the things below are a little strange. The divine bird immediately changed its tune. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes. This guy was still as cheap as ever. "Let's go ask the elders in the village, and see if they know anything about the origins of this stone sculpture. Who was the one who carved it, and what it's used to suppress? We'll find the right remedy for the problem. The heart of ice is definitely mine." Yi Qinghan finished speaking and started walking towards the village. There were many experts of the older generation in the village. The younger generation had all gone hunting, leaving only the elders and children. The village chief was a white-haired old man. He was actually a lower-level deity, and also the village's supreme priest. There was a large altar in the village. Behind the altar was a stone tablet. It couldn't be considered large or unremarkable, but it had already existed for tens of thousands of years. Beside the altar sat a group of elders basking in the sun. They were very comfortable. The one in the lead was the village chief. Looking at the elder's age, Yi Qinghan could roughly estimate that he was at least 10,000 years old. He was already past his prime and could die at any time. He was older than Yi Qinghan, so Yi Qinghan respectfully asked, "Elder, may I ask who created the great god barbaric bull in the lake behind the village? And what was it used to suppress?" "Young man, you can actually tell that it existed to suppress something?" the elder asked in surprise. Yi Qinghan was at a loss for words. Before he could reply, the little village girl ran over. "Grandpa village chief." He jumped into the lake for a long time before coming back up. He actually didn't freeze to death. How amazing! The little girl looked at Yi Qinghan excitedly. She was very excited, as if she had gone down herself. Yi Qinghan smiled awkwardly. This little girl didn't give him any face. What did she mean by actually didn't freeze to death? After hearing the little girl's words, the elders all looked at Yi Qinghan in astonishment. Up until now, this was the only person who had come back up from the bottom of the lake. According to the village's historical records, there were at least 10 experts who had dived into the lake in different eras. Unfortunately, no one had been found alive or dead. "What's at the bottom of the lake?" the old village chief asked in shock. "It's a huge python dragon, but I can't recognize what breed it is. I don't know if Elder can tell me. Is there any record of it in the village?" Yi Qinghan calmly asked. "You really dived into the depths of the lake. Heavens, how did you go down? And how did you come back up?" The old village chief was shocked. He looked at Yi Qinghan as if he was looking at a god. God. Yi Qinghan's cultivation was indeed a god for people who didn't know how to cultivate and only relied on inheritances to advance. Yi Qinghan could tell from the elder's words that the villagers knew what was being suppressed below. Otherwise, they would have been suspicious when he mentioned the python. "I was born with a fire body, so I don't fear extreme cold. There's a heart of ice below. Ordinary people would be frozen if they touched it. The god who went down in the past should have been frozen and washed away by the lake water. That's why no one knows if he's alive or dead," Yi Qinghan explained in a low-key manner. "No wonder. In the past, there was a powerful god who passed by here. We warned and advised him repeatedly, but he still stubbornly went down the wrong path and entered the lake. Unfortunately, he never came back up," the old village chief recalled. Yi Qinghan wasn't interested in the people who had gone to the bottom of the lake before. He only wanted to know what the hell was suppressed at the bottom and why it took so much effort to suppress it. He asked again, "Old mister, may I ask if the village has any information about the giant python?" "Yes, of course. It's behind the altar." The old village chief got up and led a group of elders to the back of the altar. He looked at a stone tablet that was about 3 meters tall. There were some characters from the primal chaos era carved on it that were difficult to understand. No one in the village knew these characters anymore, but Yi Qinghan knew them. The second sorcerer had given him the primal chaos secret history in the past, and the characters recorded were these characters. The primal chaos era's serpent god dragon was suppressed below the barbaric bull. It was the mount of the luminous martial battle body. The luminous martial battle body died in battle, and the serpent god dragon was ownerless. It wreaked havoc everywhere and was unrivaled. I joined forces with more than 10 main gods to suppress it. I created a 10,000-meter tall barbaric bull and carved primal chaos demon suppressing runes to suppress it at the bottom of the lake. I was worried that the demon suppressing runes weren't enough to suppress it, so I found the Heart of Ice. If the future generations coincidentally arrive here, they must not take away the Heart of Ice. They must not destroy the barbaric bull and the demon suppressing runes carved on it, or else there will be endless trouble. Below it was a primal chaos giant god, Frost War God. The primal chaos secret history had mentioned him before. Chapter 893. After Yi Qinghan finished reading the words on the stone tablet, his expression changed slightly. He knew that he could no longer have any ideas about the Heart of Ice. There are still some words at the back. Young man, do you recognize them? The village chief reminded him. Yi Qinghan hurriedly ran to the back to take a look. Indeed, there were a few lines of words. Serpent, serpent, a creature born at the beginning of the chaos. It has extraordinary talent and is on par with colossal dragons. It has boundless strength and its skin is like Lord armor. Even Lord God weapons cannot break through it. Once it awakens, it can destroy the world. It cannot be suppressed without the blood of a chaos dragon. Without the blood of a great chaos dragon supreme god, it must never be released. Remember, Yi Qinghan's first reaction when he saw these words was not that the serpent was powerful, but that he wanted to cut open the serpent's skin and refine it into Lord God armor. Gulp, Yi Qinghan swallowed his saliva just thinking about it. How many Lord God armors could he refine from such a huge serpent? The luminous martial combat constitution was truly extravagant. Such a huge treasure trove was actually used as a mount. When Yi Qinghan thought of this, his desire to explore the bottom of the lake grew stronger. However, the Heart of Ice was too powerful. His body could not withstand it before he even got close. Once he touched the Heart of Ice, he would definitely be frozen. His fire origin was still at half-step Lord level, and his space godhead had fallen to half-step Lord level. Only his time godhead and metal godhead were still at Lord level. It was unrealistic to use his fire origin to suppress the Heart of Ice. He could only rely on his metal origin. However, if his metal origin could not suppress the Heart of Ice, the consequences would be dire. The metal godhead might even be frozen into slag. It was currently summer, the time when the temperature was the highest. It was also the best time to enter the water. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment and decided to try again. Without any discussion, Yi Qinghan came before the stone bull statue again. He swallowed more than 10 supreme-grade god crystals to replenish his strength and divine power, raising his condition to the peak. Then, under everyone's gaze, he charged into the lake again. With the time spear in hand and the little golden crow protecting Yi Qinghan didn't feel any discomfort until they were 3,000 meters deep. But once they were several thousand meters deep, the little golden crow couldn't bear it anymore and began to withdraw its power, allowing Yi Qinghan to defend himself. The surroundings were dim, and it was difficult to see beyond 5 meters. Not a single creature could be seen at the bottom of the lake. Only the plankton emitted a little light. He followed the barbarian bull's thick limbs and dived to the bottom of the lake. The serpent god dragon's head was stepped on by the barbarian bull's forelimbs. Its 7 inches, its tail, and its middle were all locked in place, making it difficult for it to move. The surface of the serpent god dragon's skin glowed with crystals. The Heart of Ice shone brightly and froze a person's soul. It was unknown how long the serpent had been frozen for. Yi Qinghan sucked in a breath of cold air. His dragon blood roared and surged in an attempt to resist the chill. His metal essence was protecting his body, while his fire essence was on the verge of being extinguished. Even his fire divine spark had dimmed. One could only imagine how terrifying the Heart of Frost was. Yi Qinghan gently stepped onto the bottom of the lake. He walked along the serpent's body. He discovered that the serpent's body was even larger than a dragon. It was probably second only to a chaos dragon. It was even more terrifying than some battle constitutions. Even though it had been frozen by the heart of frost all these years, it did not lose any of its physiological functions. Once it awakened, it would definitely be a true chaos god that could sweep through everything. Apart from the second-generation sorcerer god and the top experts of the demon god race, no one could suppress it. Crack, crack, crack. Yi Qinghan walked in the icy lake. He heard some soft sounds and thought he was hallucinating. However, as he walked, the sounds grew louder and louder. He was immediately alerted. What's that sound? How could there be any sound in this bottomless abyss? Yi Qinghan frowned and mobilized the water origin. He realized that the icy water was trembling, and the source of the tremors came from the serpent divine dragon. He hurriedly approached the divine python dragon and laid down on its frozen body. He put his ear close to the divine python dragon's body and listened carefully. His hair stood on end as he realized that the ice on the divine python dragon's body was shattering. The energy in its body was slowly recovering. After many years of accumulation, the divine python serpent had become immune to the cold air produced by the heart of frost. This was the only explanation. It wouldn't be long before the serpent god flood dragon completely awakened and transformed into a dragon that could destroy the entire universe. Yi Qinghan couldn't imagine what kind of terrifying destruction a real chaos giant god beast could create if it appeared here from dozens of eras. Kill it before it recovers. Yi Qinghan thought to himself, but he did not have the confidence to win. If he accelerated its recovery and angered it, the disaster would be unprecedented. But if he didn't kill it, the beast had been sealed for hundreds of millions of years. Its ferocity had reached its peak. Once it awoke, the disaster would still occur. Looking at the heart of frost, Yi Qinghan saw that the energy in the circulating lake was decreasing. This was one of the reasons why the serpent god flood dragon was immune. Crack, crack, crack. The ice on the serpent god flood dragon's body was shattering faster and faster. According to his calculations, the serpent god flood dragon would fully awaken in a year. Barbarian Bull's demon-suppressing runes would not be able to suppress the serpent god flood dragon. Yi Qinghan had to persuade the entire region to leave and find experts to help him kill the sleeping serpent god flood dragon. Otherwise, there would be no pure land in the chaotic universe. Both factions would be in danger, not to mention the rest of the world. Yi Qinghan did not want to be a hero, nor did he have the ability to save the world. But he did not want the serpent god flood dragon to endanger the endless plains and the safety of the arrogant sect. We have to try. If we can't kill it, we can only run. Anyway, a true almighty saint will appear. Yi Qinghan gripped the spear of time and used the time mystic mysteries. He pointed the spear and growled, "Time domain, absolute stop." Whoosh. Time froze in an instant at the bottom of the lake. But this domain could not be maintained for long. At most, it could delay the serpent god flood dragon's awakening for half a year. There were too few time mystic mysteries underground. In addition, Yi Qinghan had just become an overgod and only had a small achievement in the time mystic mysteries. He could not delay it for long. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan stomped on the ground and soared into the sky, rushing to the surface of the lake. A whirlpool appeared on the surface of the lake, attracting the attention of everyone. Hundreds of villagers were staring at the lake. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan rushed to the surface of the lake. His fire origin swam, and his wet battle robes immediately dried. But his ugly expression gave the old village chief a bad feeling. "Young man, what's wrong?" the old village chief hurriedly asked. "Old sir, you need to migrate out of this region," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. "Why? Our ancestors have lived here for generations." "It's impossible for us to leave," the old village chief immediately replied with a frown. "Because the serpent god flood dragon is being suppressed below. It is the mount of one of the strongest gods in the primal chaos era. It is about to awaken, and Barbarian Bull will not be able to suppress it. In at most a year and a half, it will break out of its shackles and wreak havoc in the sky. There will be no safe place in the entire universe," Yi Qinghan said truthfully. The villagers did not understand what the strongest god in the primal chaos era meant. They were puzzled and did not want to leave their ancestral land. "Let's put it this way. The serpent god Flood Dragon is currently being suppressed by Barbarian Bull and the Heart of Frost. But as time passes, the Heart of Frost will become weaker and weaker. The serpent god Flood Dragon is somewhat immune to it. The serpent god Flood Dragon can no longer suppress it. As for Barbarian Bull, it is just an accessory. It doesn't matter whether it exists or not. The serpent god Flood Dragon will not care about it. Do you understand? It is not something that humans or gods can contend against," Yi Qinghan said hoarsely. Chapter 894. After Yi Qinghan's patient persuasion, the old village chief began to come to his senses. As it turned out, once a disaster struck, the villagers would be drowned by the ice-cold lake water in an instant. They would freeze to death without even having the chance to struggle. Half a year later, the old village chief agreed to lead the villagers in migration. The young hunters only returned at night with a bountiful harvest. However, Wang Jun's expression changed when he heard what Yi Qinghan had to say. "I'll bring you to the city, and then I'll get the city lord's residents to arrange for all of you to evacuate from this district. The area within 1,000,000 miles of this district will no longer be pure land. In a year's time, it might become a boundless icy ocean where no living creatures can survive," Yi Qinghan said with certainty. It was not easy to convince all the villagers. However, there were too many villagers and too many children. It was difficult to travel long distances. By the time Yi Qinghan brought them to the city, a year and a half might not even be enough. Therefore, Yi Qinghan personally went to the ancient forest and began to subdue large groups of powerful ferocious beasts and birds. The hunters began to build huge chariots. There were a total of 10 of them, and each chariot could carry up to 1,000 people. In the ancient forest, the birds roared angrily. Their shrill cries reverberated through the ages. However, they could not be compared to the Lord-level Yi Qinghan. They captured over 100 half-step Lord-level birds. There were divine eagles, long rocs with giant rock bloodlines, and fire god divine beasts with phoenix bloodlines. All of them were extraordinarily gifted. With the divine birds translation, Yi Qinghan tamed the rebellious ferocious beasts with threats and temptations. He got them to help pull the chariots and move quickly. There were many villages nearby. Yi Qinghan ordered the old village chief to persuade them personally. Meanwhile, he began to help build the chariots to move all the people away. He would save as many as he could, and if he could not, it would be up to fate. All of the war chariots were combined into one. Yi Qinghan found some iron ore and melted it down to forge a steel ship. Together with the defensive runes, it could withstand the hurricane. Soon, a giant ship that was tens of thousands of zhang long and thousands of jin wide appeared in everyone's line of sight with its sails drawn. They had wasted half a month, but they would be able to save a lot of time on the road. Yi Qinghan ordered all the villagers to board the ship and bring along a large amount of food. Then, he rode nearly 100 vicious birds and soared hundreds of meters into the sky. Yi Qinghan had no choice but to use his divine power to repel the astral winds and protect the children, women, and children. Hundreds of flying beasts sped through the air with majestic momentum. Normally, no creatures dared to block their path, but this didn't exclude a few terrifying ancient species. Their speed was extremely fast, and they quickly pounced towards the big ship. Occasionally they would also kill the flying beast. Yi Qinghan's protection pierced through the air. The spear of time emitted a divine radiance that would explode from time to time, piercing through the void. Every time he attacked, the spear would carry a huge corpse with its head pierced through. Even its demon core had been destroyed by the spear of time. Only then did the commoners realize that Yi Qinghan was the legendary god, a powerful god. Wang Jun looked at Yi Qinghan's back and felt as if he was looking at history flipping through countless battles. He couldn't help but rejoice that he had said a few words and asked Yi Qinghan to stay in the village for 2 days. If it weren't for Yi Qinghan, the entire region would have been devoured by the serpent divine flood dragon 2 years later. After traversing millions of miles of the ancient forest, the flying beasts were a little tired after a day. Yi Qinghan chose a slightly spacious open space to rest for half a day. He also provided the ferocious beasts with a large amount of flesh and blood to help them recover their strength. Many of these flying beasts had the bloodline of the Chaos Giant God. Although the bloodline was thin, their combat strength was still very strong. It was difficult for them to become ordinary lords, but they could still become top-notch half-step lords. Yi Qinghan had no time to nurture them. Now, he only wanted to drive away all the living creatures in this district. Then, he would kill the first-generation Guangwu combat body mount and forge countless Lord God armor. He would bring these golden armor back to the endless plains. The mad sex ability would increase greatly. The night was dreamy and the moonlight poured down. Yi Qinghan sat at the bow of the ship, looking up at the sky. No one knew what he was thinking. The cute little village girl looked at Yi Qinghan, but she didn't dare to get close to him. She didn't speak as casually as before. She kept approaching him tentatively, her face flushed red. "God, are you a great god?" the little village girl asked softly. Yi Qinghan turned his head slightly, looked at the little village girl, and said with a smile, "There are no gods in this world. They've only cultivated and are a little stronger than ordinary people, so they call themselves gods. They also die and decay. They're not omnipotent." Grandpa Village Chief said that gods are omnipotent and can bring people back from the dead. "Can you fulfill a small wish of mine?" The little village girl looked at Yi Qinghan seriously, her eyes pleading. Yi Qinghan was speechless. If gods were truly omnipotent, why would there be wars in this world? The god that the villagers were talking about was naturally the Lord. Although the Lord was powerful, he was far from being able to bring people back from the dead, let alone be omnipotent. "If I can't bring people back from the dead, no one in this world can do it," Yi Qinghan said calmly. "Xiao Xian, don't talk nonsense. Don't disturb the rest of the gods. Quickly come back." The old village chief walked over, his eyes full of reverence. He didn't dare to look directly at Yi Qinghan. The little village girl called Xiao Xian had a face full of reluctance. She looked back 3 times with every step, staring at Yi Qinghan. It was as if she really had a wish for Yi Qinghan to fulfill. Yi Qinghan looked at Xiao Xian's expression and took the initiative to ask, "What is it? Let me try." When Xiao Xian heard Yi Qinghan's words, she immediately looked at the old village chief, hoping that he would agree to let her say her wish. Even if it couldn't be fulfilled, she could give up. The old village chief was sad. He seemed to have guessed what Xiao Xian's wish was. He nodded slightly and retreated to the side. "I want to go back 10 years and say something to my brother." Xiao Xian seriously looked at Yi Qinghan and said in a crisp voice. The villagers of Barbarian Bull Village all looked at Xiao Xian. They all knew her past and felt pity. Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched. He hoarsely asked, "Where's your brother?" "He fell into the lake. It's my fault. I didn't look after him properly. I also didn't warn him not to approach the lake and not to blaspheme Great Divinity Barbarian Bull. He climbed on Great Divinity Barbarian Bull's head and fell into the lake." Xiao Xian lowered her head and wept. She pursed her lips and said, Father and mother jumped into the lake to save him. I want to go back and tell him not to approach great divinity Barbarian Bull or the lake. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed with surprise. No wonder this little girl warned him the moment he approached the lake. He couldn't help but sigh. She felt guilty and wanted to make up for her past mistakes. Unfortunately, the passage of time and the profound mysteries of time was just a flash in the pan. It was difficult to change history. Little girl, all history has its own path. Even if you warn your brother, he is still young and inexperienced. He will still climb the barbarian bull statue and history will repeat itself. Yi Qinghan gently advised. No. My brother is very obedient. If I warn him, he will definitely listen to me. Great divinity, can you let me go back and see him one more time? Xiao Xian earnestly stared at Yi Qinghan, her eyes filled with expectation. Yi Qinghan's fingertips tapped on the edge of the boat as he stared at Xiao Xian. This little girl didn't have any cultivation. She should be able to reverse history in 10 years. However, he didn't know what the consequences would be. He also didn't know what would happen if he changed a person's path. Perhaps such a minor character wouldn't be able to change history. Perhaps he could really reverse the situation and save that child, save Xiao Xian's family. Yi Qinghan had never tried to reverse time and reverse the universe. If he tried it on an ordinary person, regardless of whether he succeeded or not, there would be no harm. His eyes gradually filled with interest. I'll try. However, whether or not you can change history will depend on your luck. Yi Qinghan smiled. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.